Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular open meeting of the Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, May the 7th, 2012, in Council Chambers. First item on the agenda would be the adoption of minutes. We are looking at adopting minutes, Committee of the Whole minutes of April the 16th, regular open minutes of April the 16th for adoption as corrected. There was a change on a motion there, 459-12, that has already been corrected. And item 3 would be special open minutes of April the 23rd, 2012. Is there any further input into those minutes? Hearing none, they will be adopted by consensus. Business arising from prior minutes. There was no business arising. And we're looking at the introduction of some late items, which unusually are quite numerous this time around. So the late items will be a business item 6 report, and this is an application for funding under the gas tax agreement strategic funding. Item number 2, business item number 7, is a report on additional sewer services to the Osoyoos Indian Band. Item 3, we have the pleasure of having the Osoyoos royalty appear as a delegation. They will appear later in the meeting. Item 4, Environment Canada Re the Weather Station will present later in the meeting. Item 5 is the 2011 audited financial statements. This will be moved forward on the agenda to business item number 1, and we will have the auditors here speaking to the audited report. And item number 6 is a report from the grants and aids for the local applicants in town here. That report has been completed and approved, and moving forward on that. So could we have the adoption of the agenda as amended? Councillor Ryan Rhodes, any discussion on that? All in favor, opposed, carried. First item of business is delegations. We have Mr. Paul Toor here looking at the expiration of development permit number 0902. Mr. Toor, please.
Respected Mayor and Councillors, my name is Paul Toor. I own the development at 8 Braeburn Place, Osoyoos. It's 109 unit townhouses. Because of some economic conditions and stuff, so the DP is expiring May 17th. I would like to ask Council if they can extend for another 6 months so that we can start the development, and city had spent lots of time on this development. And another issue I want the Council and the Mayor to consider is that we had 109 units total and 27 buildings with 3 phases in the project. And at the time of the DP, we agreed that all the offset works cost we will pay upfront before start of any building. But because of the economic condition and the warranty people, they want commitment letter from the economic, the banks and stuff. So the bank is saying that you're building just 2 buildings, why you wanna like spend all the money for the offset works? And that's the reason like nobody is willing to come up with that money. So we were wondering if we can put those offset costs at the 3rd building. That's the first is a 4-plex, then a duplex, and after that we still had 103 units left. So if that will be possible, then we don't have any issue with the financing. And we already had a road and everything just for the 2 buildings. Okay. So that's my request is, and if you can think about it and let me know, then we can go ahead with the building permit.
Okay.
Other conditions are basically all dealt with. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And
okay, there might be some questions, Mr. Toor, of that. Yeah. Any questions from Council on the request, directly related to the request? Okay, thank you, Mr. Toor. I guess I have one. And where are you with the planning department?
Everything else is almost lined up. Only the warranty people, they won't give us the warranty unless we had a commitment letter from my bank. Okay. And the bank had that condition that you know, you don't have to build the whole road for the whole 109 units. just to be the start, and they are thinking it's too much. Okay. But at that time, we were thinking it should be okay, and we agreed to it. So otherwise, the other little conditions, we can deal with. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shannon, were you going to speak to this at all as to, okay, thank you. Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Toor, we're excited about your development, but it seems to have been taking a lot of time along the way. You had an extension on your development permit. Now you'd like another one. Is there any particular reason why it's taken quite a while to get?
Actually, the original DP was amended because if you go through the history of the project, we were asked into doing the development in the phases, so that because the condition of the funding, because we don't want to pay whole expenses for the offsite works plus the landscaping because of the economic condition. But then it took us about a year to amend that development permit. So we lost almost a year just getting into that amendment, so that we can, the way it is right now. Mm-hmm. But after that, the economic condition, as you know, has been pretty bad. Mm-hmm. So at one condition, we were just thinking that it's not viable anymore. We should just let it sit and we try again or change or something. But with this new condition, the bank said if you can put this thing off, they are willing to come up with the financing. So that's the reason, because first 1 year was almost gone because of the number of units and because the landscaping deposit was almost $500,000. So that wasted about 1 year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon, please.
Sure. Excuse me. We're taking this back to July of 2009 when we brought the first development permit 0902 to council, and it was approved. And at the time, the permit was approved by council, but it was never issued. Mr. Toor was not happy with the terms and conditions of the servicing aspects and how he was to post the securities at that time. So, as he said, from July 2009 until May of 2010, we worked hard between True Consulting and ourselves, and we put together a servicing agreement that was eventually approved by council on May the 16th, 2011. Sorry, May the 17th, 2010. And that servicing agreement was registered on title. Now, if I understand correctly, Mr. Toor is saying that he had to post all of the securities up front for this whole project right now. The securities for the collection of the securities is laid out in 3 phases. The first phase would be $182,000, and that includes, as far as offsite works, it's $29,000 for the extension of irrigation water from System 8 off of 92nd Avenue through the project, so that we use irrigation water from the town at a cost of $29,000. And then there's the offsite upgrades to Centerline of 92nd Avenue and Brayburn. The town plans to utilize those funds to upgrade Brayburn Place, and that was $116,000. The landscaping that we're collecting as part of the first phase for his first building permit is only 12% of the overall landscaping cost. That's a cost of $37,000, and then a landscaping review and inspection fee of $592. So, like I was saying, the overall cost of all the offsite servicing and these fees total approximately $600,000, and it's at an average, they're busted out into 3 blocks of $200,000. The first one's $182, and the second one's $183 once they get to the phase 2 of the project. And the final one is $222, which has the majority of the landscaping costs built into it. Mr. Toor is asking that we extend the permit, and I just got a few notes. This has come at me pretty quick. We just found out on Friday. Mr. Toor has been notified numerous times that the development permit will expire on May the 17th if a building permit is not issued within 24 months. And he has failed to respond to numerous requests by email from the building inspector for outstanding items that are on the building permit application. I just want to give you a little wee bit of history on how we've dealt with other projects. And just looking back, some examples are Eric DeBoer, the 12-unit residential building on Main Street with 2 units of commercial on the ground floor, was approved in 2008, and it expired in 2010 after 24 months. Indigo 184-unit multifamily residential development was approved by council in 2008 and expired in 2010. Oleander Sun Properties with the 4205 Oleander Drive. It was a 29-unit condominium project. It was approved in 2009 and it expired in 2011. None of these developers were offered any kind of an extension. Another one that we have is a 51-unit condominium project on Nighthawk Drive. Rough data, it was approved in 2005 and it expired in 2007. They've come back to the table and paid they paid $9,100 in development permit fees the first time around. They came back in October of 2011 and reinstated their development permit application and paid $8,300 a second time for a new development permit application because the previous one had expired and had not been extended. Some of them coming down the road, we have Oasis, the medical building. It will expire in October of this year. After 24 months, it's been extended for 6 months. So that's just some of the background on how we've dealt with these applications to date. So in an effort to be fair to all the developers as a whole, I'm just going to make a suggestion that we look at making amendments to our land use procedures bylaw. If I have it here, I'm not sure I do. Anyway, it states as the last caveat under that section that under no circumstances shall we extend a permit past 24 months. And I would think that we'd need to put something in the fee structure if we're going to entertain that.
Okay. I guess when you were looking at all the ones that expired, I don't recall anyone asking for an extension. I mean, some of them had no desire to come back because the economy hadn't turned around to their favor in that. So I don't recall them coming this far to come before council. Maybe they came to the planning department, but I don't recall any that came to the council table. Do you?
Well, no, I don't know if you've had a chance to read my email to Mr. Toor, but they were all pretty firm emails that your permit is expiring after 24 months and that it will no longer have any force or effect. That's the language directly out of the land use procedures bylaw. And typically they don't think there's any avenue after that, and they don't make the request to council, and they haven't yet. So,
okay. Okay. Council, any Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question about process. Is there provincial legislation that would authorize us to make this change if we were motivated?
The Local Government Act, there's a caveat in here that Section 895 of the Local Government Act, it states that a local government that has adopted an official community plan bylaw or a zoning bylaw must, by bylaw, define procedures under which an owner of land may apply for an amendment to the plan or bylaw or for the issue of a permit under this part. And then it goes down a little further. It says, if a bylaw under subsection 1 that I just stated establishes a time limit for reapplication, the time limit may be varied in relation to a specific reapplication by an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the local government members eligible to vote on the reapplication. So I'm not a lawyer, but it would seem that council has the opportunity to extend a permit by a 2/3 vote if they so wish.
Okay. Okay. What are Councilor Ryan?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd just like to again ask the proponent, Mr. Toor, you've asked for a 6-month extension. I'm just wondering if there's any way that you could do that within a shorter period of time.
I can try. The only thing, as Steve Shannon told us about the securities, we had 3 phases, but the first phase is only 6 units, 1 fourplex and one another duplex. Second phase, another 12 units. That's another 3 buildings. And the last phase is the 94 units. So if you're thinking that we are dividing the security into 3 units, that's not the case, because we are putting almost 33% on 6 unit, and another 33% on another 6 unit, and another 33% on 94 units. So the securities are not spread evenly according to the number of units. So for the first 6 units, that's 2 building, 1 fourplex and 1 duplex. So that's 33% of all the securities. That's kind of excessive. That's what the bank is telling us. And if we couldn't go with the sort out those securities, then we don't need 6 months. 3 months may be enough. So we have to just give it to the bank. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. So you're suggesting that it should be on a prorated basis
Of the
to
number
the
of
units.
Yeah.
And I guess to counter that, some of those costs are fixed costs, like the irrigation water. I mean, those are fixed costs to the town to
those
supply
ones
that.
we have to come up when, like the water services and stuff. We have to do when after the 2 buildings, we have to do that. And this is the only cost we can move to the 3rd building, because we already had a road, and we can live with the same road, the existing. It's only 6 units. There can be no traffic or anything like that.
Okay.
So we don't want you to go all the way to 3rd phase or anything.
Right.
We just want to go to the 2nd phase.
Okay.
That's a 3rd building.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shannon, please.
Oh, I just wanted to say that this is what happened after we did the first permit, that it never was issued because Mr. Toor wasn't happy with the servicing arrangements and the timelines of collecting securities. And it took a long time and a lot of effort between True Consulting and the town to come up with a servicing agreement that's since been approved by council and registered on title and approved by both parties, that lays out the timelines of when all the servicing would take place and when the securities would be collected. When you get into the 2nd phase, a lot of it is because it's a gravel pit. It's the site grading and the securities for the amount of the fill, the 9,970 cubic meters of fill, and there's very little servicing there. That's the site grading for that whole site, and $22,000 for the water upgrades, right? The remaining of the securities was left until the later phase of the project. This took a lot of work, and what I'm hearing correctly is that Mr. Toor is asking for another major amendment to this whole development package. So this is turning into a lot more than just amending a DP that's all improved that both parties are in agreement on. This is going back to the drawing board and revising the servicing and security agreement and the servicing covenant that's already registered on title, and which would make changes to the actual development permits that's in place, the terms and conditions. So this would be in addition to extending a DP or considering that. It sounded to me that it's an application that's being presented here to amend for a major amendment to the DP and the servicing agreement as well. And I couldn't speak much further on that right now, except that we'd have to get something in writing from the developer, and we would have to take it through our engineering staff for comments.
Okay. And that's not without cost.
That's not without cost.
If it was, I'm just looking at the economic times here and, what we can do to generate a little economic activity in the town. If it was council's desire, do you see any softening? I believe the phase that that Mr. Toor was talking about had irrigation, the road, and the landscaping. And you were just mentioned the breakdown of the dollar figure. Is there any softer position if it was council's desire? I'm not saying that it would be, or is there anything? When you're, with your professional outlook, is there anything that we could do to perhaps soften that economic? It was 182,000, I believe, for the.
It's 182,000 for the first phase, and
Yeah.
and honestly, I don't see any softening in that first phase. We went back and forth many times to agree that we weren't going to. We were standing firm on getting the irrigation water supplied as far as part of the first phase, and that's the cost. It's a minimal cost over the overall development. The only thing that the town would do, and it'd have to be authorized by council, is allow developments to be made and have them without doing any upgrades to the off-site street network, and maybe put that 116,000 off to a later phase. But the later phase is already loaded up. The second phase has got $124,000 for the site grading.
Okay.
This was laid out so it was evenly distributed throughout these phases. The
What was
majority
the
of the majority of the landscaping is the last one, and it's 222,000. It's 75% of the overall landscaping.
Okay. So what was the landscaping on phase 1?
12.5% of it, and it's for a total of $37,000.
Okay.
Yeah. And part of that is necessary to meet the requirements of the approvals in the agricultural land reserve. Wanted a fence along the back property line, and to ensure that slope was landscaped, and et cetera, and it ensures that we get the garbage and stuff facility constructed as part of the first phase, and things like that are integral parts of the landscaping that need to be completed as the first phase is constructed.
Okay, council, what's the wishes? Councilor McCordoff, please.
I haven't known anything about this before, but I'm just wondering if it would be possible. I certainly understand Mr. Shannon's concern about the costs that need to come up. If we considered allowing you, say, 2 months to get this in order, I still think that it sounds like the costs would have to accompany this right at the beginning, the development costs. Would that, it's kind of giving you a little bit of leeway on one side but not on the other. Does that make sense or not? I don't know. Just trying to come up with something that might be a bit of a compromise, but I certainly understand all the costs, and I think that those need to be paid because they all have to come up front.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has been provided to us in the form of a delegation right now in your email and everything. Personally, from my standpoint, I'm a little reluctant to offer up a decision in this particular format without a report from our staff on it, realizing full well that we will go past that expiry date before we can have another look at it. I don't know if a resolution at this point would be appropriate. I don't think I have all of the information that I need to make a decision on it, and I'd be very reluctant to debate it today, and I'm not sure if that was part of what we were trying to do here, but I just thought I would jump in that I'd be very reluctant to debate this today. I would like to see a report from our staff on it. Realizing full well the date sensitivity and the deadline that we're up against, but really to make a decision today would be a little premature in my mind.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Rhodes. on that date, on that May 17th date, that is it. We couldn't change it after that.
That's it.
That's it. So we're not meeting before the 17th. So I wouldn't see that we'd be having a special meeting for this item. So we're sort of into a tough place also. Mr. Romanko, any comments here to?
Well, my only comment is that Mr. Toor has been contacted many times to try and facilitate this process at an earlier time. And now he comes to council at the last minute with not only one request but two requests, because I was told that he was coming to council specifically asking for an extension to the development permit. Now he's coming back to council asking for a change to a significant agreement, an agreement that I recall council debating quite extensively with significant investment in True Consulting to develop that agreement. We have a history, a pattern of not, from previous councils, of not extending these particular development permits. And just speaking to the staff load to try and all of a sudden bring this particular item to the top, I don't think it would be fair to the people who have been waiting for, to deal with their issues in a special meeting format.
Okay. And thank you for those comments. It's becoming clear which way this should go. And when it is a double request, because clearly it's not to grant Mr. Toor the 6 months without reducing the money. That's not going to change the situation at the bank that he referred to. So you either have to change that $182,000, then do the time extension, or not grant it at all. And with the information that's presented, I think it's obvious, and we're not going to make the extension, Councillor Rhodes, unless you see us having a special meeting. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment was only directed on my ability to make a decision based on the information I have, and I do not feel that I have the whole package at this point. Not a reluctance to debate it.
Okay. Councillor Ryan?
Yes. Well, Mr. Mayor, I would be prepared to say that with reluctance deny the request to extend it and to make any changes to the development permit terms and conditions, and particularly the servicing and security agreements that are registered.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, do we have a seconder for that? Okay, Councillor McCordoff. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I'll just speak to that. I do this with reluctance. I understand the situation that we're in. I did have a hand in formulating the text that says you don't get extensions, and we don't take it upon ourselves to advise you, and you have been advised, unfortunately. And this came from another situation that wasn't mentioned by Mr. Shannon, in which there was allegations that the town had a responsibility to tell him that the permit was ending. On the other hand, secondly, the fact that we've negotiated between the two parties and we've registered this on title, we have to make sure that when buildings are proposed, that all the conditions of building them and completing them are there, and that this is not changed unless there is some major condition that needs to be renegotiated, and I'm reluctant to do that. So I regret that personally that I can't see my way to agreeing with your requests.
Mr. Toor, please.
I just want to let you know the reason why we could not the building permit. So if the council doesn't want to change the servicing agreement. If I get 6 months or 5 months, I can go back to the bank that either we don't do at all, or you can think about it. So if you can't do the, that securities agreement, I can still try to go back to the bank if I get at least extension.
Okay, so then you would be, you would be still interested in the 6-month extension?
Yeah, I'm been working with the bank last, because I knew it's going to be expired, but because the reason I'm explaining to you is that's the reason why I could not pick up the building permit. Okay. Because otherwise I could have picked up long time ago, because I'm paying interest every month on the property.
You bet.
But if there's no situation that we can't resolve that thing, then rather than going back to table again, I would like to just try to get some other private funding or something like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Councillor Ryan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the reason I asked about even doing it in less than 6 months was that I'm certainly inclined to give an extension. I would like to see you complete the project, at least to get it started. I mean, and you are, it is phased, so you've got time to phase it. So if my my seconder would accept, I would be prepared to withdraw the motion and put a new motion.
Okay.
That's fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I would then propose that we allow a 6-month extension to the building permit, to the development permit, to give Mr. Toor time to submit and receive a building permit.
Okay. Thank you. The seconder on that one, please.
I'm not sure about that.
Councillor Rhodes.
And that's with no conditions, merely an extension of time.
Okay. I was going to maybe suggest that we would have a language in there detailing that it's the final, but I think Mr. Toor would understand from being at this meeting that it is the final. There would be certainly, I think that's the obvious. I don't think we need it in the resolution. Councillor Rhodes.
Did I get a seconder to that?
Councillor Rhodes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The impact of making this decision is profound for us. I think you heard the information that's been written in stone about how municipalities should react to these kind of things. If there is a successful extension of this, it's almost unprecedented, in our application. I'm sure I feel quite comfortable saying that, and that there would be no further opportunities to move beyond this at all. I'm not real comfortable doing this, but I have a vision of speaking in favor of this motion because development is important in our community. Credible development is very, very important, and if there's an understanding that this is a one-time shot from a council that never does these kind of things, I guess that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. When you enter into new territory with these kind of things, there's always an expectation that the other party is going to step up to the plate and ensure that they do the right thing from this moment onward. I can feel the tension to the right of me about how and why councils would even conceive of bringing this kind of thing up, and I respect that. I have a profound amount of respect for staff members who are diligent and do things that are written out for you in your bylaws, and really the motion that's on the floor, we're kind of going against that right now. So mutual respect is mandatory in this situation if it's successful.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Very well stated. Mr. Shannon, please.
I would just like to say that if council proceeds with this resolution, that you include some dates with it and include some language that's similar to the language that's been used in these notices to the applicant, and that's that The permit will only remain valid if a building permit is issued within 24 months of the date of that, well, it would be 24 plus 6 would be 30 months. From the date of the Municipal Council authorization resolution for all the subject works under the permit requiring a building permit. Otherwise, the permit will now expire on November the 17th, 2012, and no longer have any force or effect.
Okay, and Ms. Van Vienen, if you know, we can, did you get all that? Because you have it from the previous resolution there too. I guess the key here, if council goes ahead with this, would be November 17th, and that would definitely be it. And Mr. Toor, you're really putting council under a lot of pressure to bring this forward. You've been notified many times, and we shouldn't be into this sort of shotgun situation where we can't even have go back to staff and then have it at a proper meeting. So, you know, I think we want to be treated fairly too here. Councillor Ryan?
I think that's a good wording that Mr. Shannon has given us, and I would like to see with Councillor Rhodes' agreement that we continue that by saying or be further extended, no longer have any force effect or be further extended.
Okay, great. Mr. Romanko, please.
I'm just seeking some clarity on what is in the development permit. So the servicing agreement, as written, that's one of the terms and conditions of the development permit. So what I don't want to see us get involved in here is a renegotiation or even an inkling that we're going to renegotiate the service agreement.
I think that's loud and clear. That
But
is
it's
not happening.
That's one of the conditions of the building permit, or to get the building permit.
That's correct.
That's right. Okay, so that yeah, so we won't entertain any changes to that, or the pressure be placed on us to make any changes.
Okay. Councillor Plant? Okay. Everyone okay? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, thanks, Mr. Toor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Okay. Thank you.
There are no water matters coming back to the agenda after 40 minutes. Correspondence. A requesting letter from the Community Adult Literacy Program. What are we doing with that, please? Looking for a letter of support to the Community Adult Literacy Program. Pretty straightforward. Are we going to support this? I would hope we were. Councillor McCordoff, please.
Sure. Yes, I would
Okay.
think we need
Moved,
a letter.
letter of response. Councillor Rhodes, please. Any dialogue on that? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next item of business, and I hope we can do these as a conservative government omnibus bill, and I hope we can do these bylaws all in one.
All together.
Well, it's council's discretion. They can make one resolution to do that if they wish. Basically, the motion would read that they would be adopting each of those bylaws.
Okay, I don't see us not adopting any of them. I think we went through them this morning at the Committee of the Whole meeting. Director Zackel, please.
What I would suggest is if you make a resolution and you're adopting more than one bylaw, please make sure that you're listing off the bylaws that you're talking about, because there's a lot of bylaws that might be dealt with separately.
So we'd be looking at Lacey Point, Sunnyville, Osoyoos tax rates, and that's it. That would just be the 5 of them that had to do with that, and then we'll go through some of the other ones, the hotel room tax and things like that singly. We'd be looking at the parcel tax as all in one. Does that make sense, Mr. Zacco?
That would be fine.
Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make that motion that we adopt those 5 bylaws as one motion.
Excuse me, are there 5 or 4?
4?
I think there are only 4.
I apologize. Yes, there's 4. Yeah.
Okay. Lacey Point Water System, 115601. Lacey Point Sewer System, 1158.03. Sunnyville Water System, 1157.02. Osoyoos Tax Rates Bylaw, number 1289. And Osoyoos Tax Rate...
That was it.
Oh, it's repeated
That's
twice.
just the attachment, probably on.
Okay, that's the attachment, okay. So that's the 4 of them. All in favor of those being adopted, opposed, carried, thank you. Roads and Plant. Okay, going to, what I have as item 6 is probably item 5. Zoning amendment bylaw on metal storage containers. Councillor Rhodes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, I'm going to recuse myself from this agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Are we having a report on this? No. Yes. Okay, no, that's fine. Mr. Armstrong, please.
Okay, I'll go over this quickly, Your Worship. On April 16th, 2012, Council gave second and third reading to the bylaw. The bylaw is now in front of Council for adoption. Following the adoption of the bylaw, 3 enforcement letters will be sent to the properties identified in the March 5th, 2012 impact assessment table. The zoning bylaw basically is to cover off shipping containers, to provide regulations and to limit their use to industrial and agricultural zones. I've gone over the report a few times now in council, so basically we are just recommending adoption of zoning bylaw 1085.85/2012.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCordoff, Councillor Plant seconding. Any further discussion on the bylaw? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Municipal Ticketing Information System. Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Van Vienen, please. Okay, thank you. And this bylaw that's coming forward is going to be an interesting one. This is the result of the cleanup we did at the old Dividend mine site, where we collected 40,000 pounds of unwanted stuff on pristine Crown land that people like to walk and hike and take their dogs and do a lot of things up there. So there was a massive town cleanup 2 weeks ago now, and the result of that is this bylaw coming forward, and we're pretty excited about it. Ms. Van Vienen, please.
Thank you. As you stated, there was a cleanup done in an area, and as a result, Council has asked staff to come back with a report changing the MTI bylaw. On April 21st, several members of the public, including Council and some staff members, attended at an area west of Dividend Ridge to clear it of dumped articles, resulting in over 19,620 kilograms of garbage being collected. The next day, a member of the public witnessed someone again dumping their garbage in this location. Good Neighbor Bylaw 1277, Section 4.1A states no person shall leave, scatter, dump, or dispose of any rubbish, paper, litter, cigarette butt, glass, or any other material, either solid or liquid, in any public place. Council requested staff review the fines for illegal dumping. They are currently set at $200 with a fine reduction of $160 if the ticket is paid within 30 days. The Community Charter Bylaw Enforcement Ticket Regulation sets the maximum fine amount allowable under a ticket offense at $1,000. Good Neighbor Bylaw 1277 allows for enforcement under the MTI bylaw, as well as allows for persons to be charged under the Offence Act with a maximum fine of $10,000 if convicted. Staff are presenting MTI Amendment Bylaw 1279-03-2012 for 3 readings. This amendment provides for different fine amounts for violations under Section 4.1A of Bylaw 1277. Littering will remain at the $200/160 of the 30 days level, while illegal dumping will have a fine of $1,000 with no reduction if paid within 30 days. Also attached to this report is wording proposed for signage to be located in the Dividend Ridge area. Video surveillance equipment is being looked into separately. Implications to the community: it'll be a cleaner community and walking trails. Additional bylaw enforcement in the area to watch for illegal dumping, to monitor the video. Budget, signage and video equipment to be purchased. Sustainability, keeping the public areas clean and free of contaminants for continued enjoyment by the public. Options: that MTI Systems Amendment Bylaw number 127903 be read a first, second, and third time. That it be with the wording for the signage to be placed at Dividend Ridge entrance to the trailway be approved. Now, it has been amended just slightly since the attachment. That MTI Systems Amendment Bylaw 127903 be read a first, second, and third time, and that the wording of the signage be referred back to staff, and or that both the bylaw and wording of the signage be referred back to staff. And we recommend option 1.
Great, thank you very much. I really like the sign, by the way. Council, please. Councilor McCordoff and seconder Councilor Plant. Speaking to the motion, Councilor McCordoff.
Thank you. I just had a question. I'm looking to find out what is meant by the Offense Act. I see the MTI and the Good Neighbor, but what is that?
That is the act that we can have people charged by the RCMP, and it goes through Crown Council, and it goes to the provincial courts for the judge to make an assessment on what the fine or jail or whatever he determines.
So it's a municipal act, or it's a provincial?
It's a provincial act.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No, and has the, sorry, can I just also ask, has the signage, the wording been, that has been okayed by lawyers or whoever? No? I'm thinking short and sweet. I like the no dumping part. I'm not sure whether everybody's going to read what's underneath it, that's all. But if that's what is required, then absolutely I'm okay with it.
We've actually amended it slightly from what you have. It doesn't say those persons caught dumping litter. It says those persons caught dumping solid or liquid waste of any kind.
Okay.
And we've put both the Good Neighbor bylaw and MTI bylaws at the bottom.
Okay.
And it will also have no dumping in French as well, and a picture of a no dumping sign.
Really?
Great.
Oh, wow, that's good.
So are we sure this is going to be the end of the changes? That's all. You know, there's been a few, and I remember us talking about this last week up in Revelstoke, that we were trying to get the wording to that, so I just wanted to make sure that it was correct.
Yeah, looks good. Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Totally support the motion that's in front of us right now. I have a couple of regrets. First one being that we can't fine at $5,000. I'm sad that we're restricted to the $1,000. I could almost entertain a motion that would do away and go right to the criminal offense thing. That's how strongly I feel about it. So thank you for allowing those words.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Rhodes. Councilor Plant.
I second that as well, Councilor Rhodes. I also just wanted to say I want to thank staff for actually making this, getting this done in a timely manner. The cleanup just happened on the 21st, and I know the cleanup was a small part of what our community wanted to see us do. And so by doing this ticket and by doing this sign and putting this, basically the first phase together of how we're going to stop and deter those from going up there. Again, I just want to go through the wording on that sign because I'm going to read it so that everybody out there knows. And it's no dumping. This area is under video surveillance. The person caught dumping solid or liquid waste or refuse of any kind will be subject to fines of $1,000 or may be charged under the Offensive Act with fines up to $10,000. And I know Teresa and I know Greg would be very happy to see this, and I'm glad that we could do this. And again, thank you, staff. Timely matter was a big thing for them. So thank you.
And again, I'd like to add to that too, the timely manner, because when we got all the townspeople out there to do the cleanup, and there was a large number of folks that came out, they wanted to see action. and they wanted to see something done. And within 2 weeks, here we are with going to a $1,000 fine and these signs going up. I guess one other question I have is, when we're making these signs, are we going to get a couple of them made up while we're doing the one? Because I think this would be appropriately installed at the Strawberry Creek area also. So I hope we're being proactive on this.
Done.
Thank you. Any other dialogue on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Don't get caught with liquid or solid waste out of your yard. Thank you. The next item would be Osoyoos Town Bylaw 1288, additional hotel room tax, report from Jim Newman, Community Development Manager. I think I've left you some room here.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and we are reviewing the Town of Osoyoos Bylaw number 1288, additional hotel room tax. And just to give a quick background, in 2007, the town passed the Town of Osoyoos Hotel Room Tax Levy Bylaw 1231, and the purpose of that tax was to raise revenues for the purpose of financing tourism marketing development programs through Destination Osoyoos. And in 2007, that process had to be supported by the accommodators, and at that time the accommodators, it had to be supported by at least 51% of the accommodators, and it got 54% support at that time. And the bylaw was in place for 5 years till December 31st, 2012. In September of 2011, the province advised us that if we wanted to revisit the hotel room tax, we would, for the next 5 years, we would have to have to them by June 2012 the same process that we did in 2007. In October, the Community Development Manager and myself was directed with the Executive Director from Destination Osoyoos to poll the accommodators to find out if they would be in support of the additional hotel room tax for another 5 years. And by January 10th, all accommodators were contacted, and there was 82% support from the accommodators to continue the AHRT program for another 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Newman.
And sorry.
Go ahead. No.
So with that, we brought it to council at March 19th, and the bylaw was given first, second, and third reading, and fourth reading would be completed after the town of Osoyoos, we received a letter from the RDOS in support of the motion, and you have attached the motion or the letter from the RDOS advising that they did support that motion.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Romanko, do you just want to talk very briefly about the AHRT and what it's used for, which is marketing, and then how that relates into the resort municipality funding that we enjoy spending in our community on such things as the marina?
Certainly, Mayor Wells. The additional hotel room tax, 2% is collected for on every accommodation stay within our community. Along with that, we have been fortunate enough to be chosen as one of the 14 resort municipalities in this province of BC. We must have the 2% additional hotel room tax to qualify as within the resort municipality program. So we get an amount equal to the hotel room tax that comes through the resort municipality funding that we can use for capital projects. Now, the additional hotel room tax has been traditionally used to support marketing projects by Destination Osoyoos, and And also that program enables that money to be used not only for marketing, but also for capital projects and amenities types of events in the community. So between the resort municipality funding and hotel room tax, we have an additional would be over $500,000 that is spent can be spent annually to support the development of tourism amenities and marketing in our community. Just for example, the projects that are going on right now certainly have benefited from an accumulated surplus of the resort municipality funding over the last 3 years. So you'll see the marina received a partial funding under that project. The new Gyro Beach washrooms will be funded under that project, and you know, and the beach cleaner. So there's been a number of projects that have certainly benefited this community from the hotel room tax. Sorry, from the resort municipality funding. But this is one of the foundations. The keys is we must have the hotel room tax to be a resort municipality.
Great. Thank you very much for that report. And that was sort of, you didn't know that that one was coming, so thanks a lot. And I guess the other point, looking at the 5 years, is we went from a 54% approval to an 82% approval, and it shows that the people that are right there front line in business, they're the ones that are bringing that forward, that support. So they're buying into it full scale, and that's a great reflection on it. So we're looking for fourth reading and adoption. Councillor Plant, Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. That's a good one to have done. The Public Mortgage Regulations Bylaw, number 1287, and MTI information, a report from the Community Planner and Approving Officer, Mr. Shannon, please.
Thank you. Bylaw number 1287 and the MTI Amendment Bylaw 127902 were reviewed by Council during the COW meeting the first time on April the 2nd, 2012. At the time, Council suggested that the fines should be increased for offenses resulting in impacts to the environment and for entering or leaving the lagoon at a high rate of speed. At the time, the Director of Corporate Services also reviewed the bylaws, and based on her suggestion, the reference to rowdyism was removed from the bylaw and replaced with nuisance. Nuisance was further defined in the bylaw as anything that annoys or gives trouble or which is offensive, irritating, or a pest to any person in the town. And on April the 16th, the bylaws were read a first, second, and third time and have been prepared for Council's consideration today for adoption. Just a quick overview of the bylaws. The Public Mortgage Regulations Bylaw number 1287 addresses unauthorized moorage, nuisance to others, users of the marina facility, security, unauthorized storage of items on the docks, unauthorized commercial activities, littering, transferring of fuel, boats parked in contravention of any posted requirements, smoking within the marina facility, using a boat as a residence, and other activities such as operating a barbecue within the marina. Agents of the town and emergency first responders, including the police, ambulance, or fire, are exempt from the provisions of this bylaw. The bylaw gives the CAO the authority to have a boat towed from the marina facility should the owner not comply with requests to remove the boat or fails to acknowledge any ticket that may have been issued within 24 hours of the issuance. Just a quick look at the MTI Amendment Bylaw. The purpose of the bylaw is the addition of Schedule 25, which includes a list of specific fines associated with each of the public mortgage regulations. I won't go through the whole bylaw, just to tell you about a couple of the fines. Unauthorized mortgage is $150. The environmental related ones were raised to $1,000, such as pouring overboard any petroleum products, sewage, or fuel. Transferring of fuel from one tank to another is $1,000. Just to explain that, you could take a jerry can through the marina, you could put a jerry can in your boat, but you're not allowed to transfer any fuel from one tank to another with that jerry can while you are in the marina. And that's about it. Living on a boat, if you're using a boat as a residence, $500. Operating a barbecue, $200. There's basically a fine associated with each of the 18 public moorage regulations. Looking ahead in my report to implications for the community, regulate the use of the marina facility at Lions Park, or under organizational, it's within the scope of bylaw enforcement. Under budget enforcement of the MTI amendment bylaw will generate revenue for the town. Under sustainability, fines for offenses resulting in impacts to the environment helps to ensure the long-term sustainability of the marina by protecting the environment. So council has three options. Adopt the bylaw 1287 and bylaw 127902, direct staff to make revisions to the bylaws, or direct staff to abandon the bylaws. Staff recommend that council adopts bylaw 1287 and bylaw 127902.
Thanks, Mr. Shannon. Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to adopt.
Okay, and seconder, Councilor Plant. Discussion, please. Councilor Plant.
I'm going to say again what Councillor Rhodes says about when we talk about littering, we talk about environmental concerns. If we could have done 5,000, we could have done 1 million, we probably would have put it on there. So again, 1,000, thank you again, staff, for seeing those concerns when we talk about environmental issues and littering, and that we did the most that we could do under our MTI and did 1,000. So thanks again.
Great. Anything further? All in favor, opposed, carried. Next item up is the audited financial statements. We have the auditors here. The audit team is here. So I'll go over to Director of Financial Services, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So what we have is to present the 2011 audited financial statements for the town of Osoyoos and Sunnyville Arena for council approval. Our auditors from White Kennedy will present their portion of it, and then I'll get into the highlights of the financial statements.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I represent White Kennedy Chartered Accountants. Mike Doherty, he's your partner charged with your audits. He's unable to attend today, so I'm filling in. To the Mayor and Council of the Corporation of the Town of Osoyoos, we have audited the consolidated statement of financial position of the town as at December 31st, 2011, and the consolidated statements of operations, the statement of change in net financial assets, the consolidated statement of changes in cash flow for the year then ended, and the summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these statements in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting principles, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of the statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. Those standards require that we comply with ethical requirements, plan and perform our audit to obtain a reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on our judgment, including the assessment of risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. In making those assessments, the auditor considers internal controls relevant to the entity's preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing on an opinion as to the effectiveness of the entity's internal control. An audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting principles and policies used and the reasonableness of the accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe that our audit evidence that we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements fairly present, in all material respects, the financial position of the Corporation of the Town of Osoyoos as at December 31st, 2011, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting principles. Once you approve the statements, they will be signed and dated, and we'll give you a copy.
Okay.
Any questions by council regarding our audit report?
I think there may be. Council, is there any questions from the audit report? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, your disclaimer is a good one. Just a little soft answer, and that would be in terms of the health of the corporation of the Town of Osoyoos. How would you rate it?
I can get back to you with an opinion on that. The statements are fairly presented, and they're not materially misstated. I think Jim could talk better to the health of the town. Our opinion is merely on the financial statements as a whole.
Right, okay.
I don't see you going broke, so.
No, they look pretty good from what I can tell. On the tangible capital assets, excuse me, one question I had, that's on page 12 of the statements themselves, or 86 of the computer version. Our water infrastructure, in terms of its valuation for capital purposes, it went up a little bit, but it pales by comparison to roads and drainage and sewer infrastructure. Is that because it's aged?
I would suggest that it's a historic cost for that infrastructure. It's not a fair market value assessment. It would indicate that perhaps they need replacement, upgrading. Once again, I think Jim could speak to that.
Cliff is right with respect to the water infrastructure. A lot of the infrastructure that we took over from the old solid system, from System 8 and 9, is water infrastructure that was put in at a much lower cost. So you're seeing that those rates are a lot lower. You take into account the new infrastructure that we're doing on an annual basis. Costs are a lot higher, and of course the amortization on a yearly basis is now offsetting those increases. But we are in a position where we're still in good shape.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess a statement that I have is I had after the audit was finished, I had a meeting with Cliff, and I always like to go through. I think the important part of financial statements are the notes at the back and the references. And I did ask if there was anything that we should be paying attention to, anything that he saw. And again, there's nothing there. So it was a great audit and a great report, and we're in good hands with our current financial team. So, is there any further questions of council? We can have a motion to receive that, please. Councillor Holtman.
It would have to be a motion to approve.
To approve. Okay.
I would so move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor McCordoff, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, and thanks for the audit, and we'll probably see you next year. I think White Kennedy's still in.
We do have the Sun Bowl Arena as well that
the Sun
council
Bowl
would have to
Arena.
approve.
Okay.
Cliff may wish to provide his independent auditor's report on that as
Okay,
well.
we might as well have the official.
Yeah. Just make it complete.
To the mayor and directors of the Sun Bowl Arena. We have audited the statement of financial position of the Osoyoos Sun Bowl Arena as of December 31st, 2011, the statement of financial operations for the year then ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these statements in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting principles, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the presentation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Our responsibility as your auditor is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian Generally Accepted Audit Standards. Those standards require that we comply with ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on our auditor's judgment, including the assessment of risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. In making these risk assessments, the auditor considers internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purposes of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the entity's internal control. An audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Osoyoos Sun Bowl Arena as at December 31st, 2011, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting principles. And that's signed by White Kennedy.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions? Hearing none, could we have a motion to approve, please? Councillor McCordoff Rhodes. Any further information? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you.
Great.
Mr. Zackel again on the March income statements. Now this appears to be new.
No, we've done this back in June and September of last year. We presented the quarterly update on the financial statements.
Okay, I just thought maybe we were getting ready for the Provincial Auditor General.
No, it's just something that we trying to get this on a timely matter to you.
Okay, thank you.
So before council is the March income statements for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena to the end of March 31st, 2012. These accounts have been reviewed and are accurately reflected in the attached documents. Some highlights from the March 31st statements. Taxes, real property levy are in a negative balance of $3,600 at this point in time due to a supplementary adjustment that was received in January, but the revenue is still projected to be on budget. Taxes collected from other governments, likewise an offset balance on there due to the supplementary adjustment that was received. Taxes collected from utilities is projected to be on budget. Cemetery operations is under budget by $5,328 at the time of this report. Likewise, revenues projected to be on budget. Licenses, permits, and rentals are under budget by $191,303 at the time of this report. Likewise, on budget, the projection. Solid waste management under budget by $95,534. It's going to be busy. It's always busier during the summertime, so this will be back on, or will be on budget. And development and building services is under budget by $8,280 at the time of this report, which is much better than we forecasted in March of last year. So our revenue figures are projected to be on budget. Return on investments, we are projecting a budget surplus at this time of $5,000. We have current budget surplus of $3,411. Land and equipment sales under budget by $717, projected to be on budget. Community services facility revenue under budget by $8,210, projected to be on budget. Community services for program revenue under budget by $19,459, projected to be on budget. We have a lot of our community services programs that are busier during the spring to fall time, and that's why that's offset. Unconditional transfers from governments going to be on budget. Conditional transfers from governments on budget, and borrowing and transfers of own funds on budget. From the expenditure side, general government services on budget. Protective services under budget by $59,472 at the time of the report, projected to be on budget. Transportation services under budget by $31,260.62, projected to be on budget. Environmental health under budget by $40,891, projected to be on budget. Public health projected to be on budget. Community services under budget by $32,078 at the time of the report and projected to be on budget. Parks and cultural under budget by $64,482 at the time of this report. That likewise is projected to be on budget. Resort municipality projects under budget by $24,457 and projected to be on budget. South Okanagan emergency preparedness under budget by $832 and projected to be on budget. Transfers of taxes, debt, and reserves projected to be on budget, and capital expenditures projected to be on budget. Sewer revenues, utility revenues projected to be on budget. Billings are going out in April and May of this year. Capital revenue projected to be on budget. This is our infrastructure grants. Expenditures from operating were under budget by $131,595 at the time of this report. Projected to be on budget, hopefully to be under budget. Debt charges projected to be on budget, payments scheduled for later this year. Capital expenditures under budget by $56,218 at the time of the report and projected to be on budget. Revenues for the water district, utility revenues projected to be on budget. The billings went out in April of this year. Water utility revenue projected to be on budget, and the billings are going out in May. Capital revenue projected to be on budget. Water district operating under budget by $74,537 at the time of the report and projected to be within budget. Water utility operating under budget by $85,559 and projected to be on budget. Debt charges projected to be on budget and payment scheduled for later this year. Capital expenditures under budget by $88,558 at the time of the report, and this is projected to be on budget. And likewise with the Sun Bowl Arena, we have a current budget deficit of $79,474. However, this is projected to be on budget because our requisitions come in August of this year.
Any questions from council on any of that information? Looking for a motion to receive. Councillor McCordoff Ryan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor. Opposed? That has been received.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zacco. I think at this time we have some honored guests that have just arrived. That's terrible. Thank you very much, and I hope that we're going to get the girls up to the mic where they can introduce themselves and
yes.
maybe say a word and have their moment on TV.
Yes, my name is Kathy Basket. I'm one of the coordinators for the Osoyoos Royalty Program, and thank you for inviting us to come today. And the girls will be speaking. They're all ready to go. I just wanted to thank you very much for your ongoing support of our program. We are the MB of many other small communities for the amount of travel money which we receive and the very generous bursaries which the girls get, so we appreciate that. And our fifth candidate went home sick today.
Oh.
She's hoping she can maybe come, but if she doesn't show up, that's why. And I'll let the girls introduce themselves. Okay, Colby. They have a specific order they go in. So.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Coljeet Wander. I'm 15 years old, and I'm being sponsored by the Osoyoos Credit Union. And a couple of things about the Realty program is it's great if you don't know how to be public speaking, or else you'll be like shaking and everything. And I'm trying to learn how to do that because I get nervous. And the other reason I joined Realty is to learn more about Osoyoos and what's it like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Madison. I'm 15 years old. I'm sponsored by the Elks Lodge, number 436. I really enjoy the Osoyoos Royalty Program. It helps me learn more about the Osoyoos history, and it helps me get over my fear of public speaking. Thank you for your sponsors.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isa. I'm 16 years old, and I'm being sponsored by Osoyoos McDonald's. If there's one saying that we live by in a royalty, it's probably that we're never any better than anyone else, but always just as good.
Thank you.
My name is Caitlin Anderson, and I am being sponsored by the Sage Pub. One thing that I have learned in royalty is that we are each unique, and that we can never be like anybody else, because a duck is a duck, not a squirrel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor McCordoff, please.
Yes. I was very honored to be at the first royalty event, which was the talent show and speech night on April the 30th. And I have to say that all 5 girls did an excellent job of presenting themselves and introducing their sponsors, and they all had great talent. So I think you're going to do well. Congratulations for joining the program.
Anything else from council? I've been associated with the previous years with the royalty going through, and besides the opportunity to have a lot of fun, it's a real great opportunity for growth, and watching the young ladies go from when they first start to the poise and polish they have at the end. It's just got real rewarding to see that, and council does support this program, and we enjoy doing it because I think it's so important for the youth of our town to have that opportunity. So all the best, and continue to have a whole ton of fun. That's what it's really all about. Thank you. Going back to business, and you really don't have to stay all the way through to the end of the meeting. I thought you were being tested very well with the audited financial report, and the exam will be coming up soon.
Can I just say one more thing? I'd like to really thank Kathy Baskett and Ann Marcelli, who do a fabulous job and have done for many years. And without those two, the program would not happen. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McCordoff. Good. That was good words and good recognition. Next item of business is there's a couple of expense, council and mayor expense statements for going out of town. There's one there for the mayor for $50, and I don't. Are they both separate then? Okay, we'll do them separately. Oh, here's the 4-day Silga conference in Revelstoke. This was $100 a day. Mine was just a $50 half day. So this is the going to the Silga, which was the Southern Interior Local Government Association in Revelstoke. That was last week, and Councillor McCordoff was there. So we're looking for a motion to approve both these. Councillor Ryan and Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Bringing us to the transit. Have I got that right now? After we got the order, yes. The BC Transit Operating Agreement, a report from Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Van Vienen, please.
Thank you. The Town of Osoyoos has administered the contract for transit services for several years. The contract is year to year and is up for renewal. The administration of the operating agreement for South Okanagan Transit was forwarded to the RDOS in 2008 to consider making a regional service. This is still being worked on at the RDOS staff level, and no decision of the board has yet been made. There is a cost-sharing agreement with the RDOS for transit services until a regional service is decided upon. The next municipal share of the transit system is $34,498. $27,589 is recovered from Interior Health, and the balance of $6,909 is cost shared between Oliver, Osoyoos, and RDOS areas A, C, and D. The town of Osoyoos portion is estimated at $2,800. A copy of this year's agreement is attached for council approval, and the RDOS has confirmed their funding for this year. The letter attached from BC Transit explains any changes to the agreement to this year, and you can see there was some changes to wage increases and liability insurance. And staff is looking for approval to the operating agreement with BC Transit, and that the town signatories be authorized to sign.
Okay, and council, please. Councilor Ryan.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question, and I'm trying to find the clause here in the in the contract. But I was just having a little trouble matching. I think the reports are clear and the letter is clear, but there was something in that contract that didn't seem to jive with the amounts that we were paying, and I'm just sorry. I'm just kind of looking for it here. I think it is on Schedule C. There was something about the cost sharing on Schedule C of the agreement that says that there's a municipal flex funding amount of $27,589, and in the agreement itself there's a clause that says that we are 100% responsible for paying that, and I wasn't quite sure how those numbers came together. It looked like we were required to pay more than they say we're required to pay. Okay, so
the $27,589 is being received from Interior Health because of its being a paratransit system. Oh, okay. And so we received that funding, and actually they've increased it substantially this year. Okay. So that is funding that comes from them. So they're taking care of the municipal flex. Good. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. And I want to commend I guess Ms. Van Vienen and our chief negotiator on this, because of the amount that the system costs, our portion through some astute negotiation with other sharers has been reduced significantly over the years. Mr. Zackel was a big part
of
that.
Mr. Zackel. Okay. So you bring in the big guns, do you? Good.
And just a comment, a bit of a historical note. I've been on this council when we were paying over $10,000 for that service. I believe we got as high as $12,000 one year, did we not?
It was higher than that.
It was higher than that even. Okay. So this is really good when we started really doing it through the regional district and attacking it as a regional issue, which obviously transportation is. So looking for that resolution to approve. Councillor Plant and Ryan, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And the next one is the distribution of commercial marina slips. This is the new marina that's really taking shape down there. It's looking better every day. Sidewalks are in today, and this will be paved and operational before the long May weekend. So it's really looking good. But anyway, going back to the issue, which is these commercial marina slips, of which we have 4, I believe, Mr. Shannon, or 5?
4.
4, okay. And there's a bit of a issue here. Mr. Shannon, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. To begin with, I've provided Council with a portion of feedback obtained during the CALP meetings held on December 19th and January the 16th, 2012, regarding the distribution and leasing of the regular and the commercial marina slips. At the time, Council agreed that a lottery should be held to distribute all of the regular marina slips on a seasonal basis, that a maximum of 4 moorage slips should be set aside to be leased out only to commercial operators, that no storage should be allowed on site, and that staff should request proposals accompanied with an operating plan describing how they would run their businesses. On February 22nd, Council approved the attached marina operations policy. An important bullet in the policy states that a maximum of 1 marina slip commercial or regular slip within the marina shall be leased out to any one person or company. Little background on the regular marina slips. On March the 27th, 2012, a regular marina slip lottery was held by staff. We had a total of 12 entries for 11 regular marina slips. However, after the lottery was held, one of the entrants opted out. As you are aware, all the regular marina slip winners have successfully entered into marina moorage lease agreements with the town, paid their fees, and provided proof of insurance. To date, the regular boat slips have generated a total of $18,480 in revenue. One marina slip has been set aside for the RCMP boat, and the remaining 16 marina slips within the lagoon are set aside for use by Osoyoos Shoreline Developments. The commercial marina slips on March the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, adverts were placed in the Osoyoos Times requesting proposals for the commercial marina slips. Now, I won't read the whole advert, but I'll go on to the overview. Commercial proposals. Only 2 commercial proposals were received prior to the cutoff on March the 26th by applicants interested in leasing out a single commercial marina slip based on the criteria advertised. First off, we had Mr. Rob Roche. He has a company name, Wake Pilot Wakeboarding. He has a 25-foot Malibu wakeboard boat. His business is to teach and promote wakeboarding, water skiing, and safe boating practices. And his proposal included several letters of reference which described him as an operator, as a professional operator and a good corporate citizen. The company would also be licensed through Transport Canada's small commercial vessel licensing program. His proposal is attached to this report. The second proposal was put forth by Mr. Jordy Hubert of Osoyoos Marine, who I see is in the audience today. He has a 22-foot boat. The date of manufacture of that boat is 2008. He states in his proposal that signage on the boat would request people to contact their office directly for rental information and to book their time. The company would require that any person operating one of their boats would be required to have a safe boating certificate. And that proposal is also attached. Before I go into the next page and the next 2 paragraphs here, the one on an additional proposal put forth by Jordy and the late entry, I'd like to expand a little bit on the safe boating certificate. You'll notice that throughout my report I've mentioned that numerous times throughout the 3 or 4 paragraphs. I've done a lot of research on boat rentals and how they operate in other marinas, and I'll just tell you a little story about how Penticton Marina operates. Nobody that doesn't have a safe boating certificate is allowed to operate a boat within the marina. The owner of the company that rents boats out of that marina takes the boat from the moorage slip over to the gas bar, and then the company representative goes through the big spiel with the person renting the boat and make sure that they go through the checklist and they sign the checklist, and then they're free to go out on the lake, and they return the boat to the gas bar, and then the owner of that company or the representative from that company returns the boat to the slip. And by doing that, nobody that is, let's call them a newbie driver or unexperienced boat driver, drives a boat within the marina with all the other expensive boats. There's, call it a loophole in the provincial law if you like, but if you want to rent a personal watercraft from Holiday Inn or a boat, you don't have to have a safe boating certificate. But if you want to own a boat and go on the lake, you have to have a safe boating certificate. So when I was reviewing these proposals with Jordy Hubert, I had these discussions with Jordy, and Jordy agreed that anybody that rented a boat from one of his slips, if he was to get a commercial slip, he would require that person would be required to have a safe boating certificate before renting the boat to them. So moving on, Osoyoos Marine also included a second proposal with their original submission to lease out as many as 3 commercial boat slips to rent out boats. The proposal stated that if this option is considered, our staff could monitor the marina traffic, assist if needed with mooring, launching, and be available as a watchful eye and provide feedback to the town and the marina. The proposal also says that they would be interested in leasing the office space to be constructed at the marina, and although it's not required by law, the operator, as suggested by staff, has stated that any person renting a boat would be required to have a safe boating certificate. The boats range from 20 to 22 feet in length. They are all relatively new, with the oldest boat being manufactured in 2007. And if the town wished to entertain this proposal, the marina operations policy would have to be amended to allow more than one commercial slip to be leased out to one company. And then this is the third one here is attached for information. It's a late entry commercial proposal. On April the 24th, I received an email from Mr. Randy Gallagher from Penticton Boat Rentals, and he's also in the audience today. He is interested in obtaining one or more boat slips to rent boats to the general public. Mr. Gallagher claims to have been running a successful boat rental business in Penticton and Summerland since 2005 and has a fleet of fairly new boats. An example of one of his boats is a 22-foot family boat manufactured in 2010. He would be willing to ensure that boat renters had a safe boating certificate prior to operating boats within the lagoon and on Osoyoos Lake. He has expressed an interest in using one of the slips to set up a parasailing operation as well on Osoyoos Lake. He has not purchased a parasailing boat yet, and I pointed out here that they come in various sizes, and they tend to be longer than the allowable 26 feet as per our marina operations policy for parking such a boat within the lagoon. There's attached emails from Mr. Gallagher and a picture of the parasailing boat and the family boat. The implications to the community: commercial operators provide a service to the community and enhance the visitor experience. Organizational staff will be able to fill 2 of the commercial slips and proceed with requesting proposals for filling the remaining 2 slips. Under budget, the leasing of the commercial marina slips will generate revenue. Requesting proposals a second time will be an added expense to the town. Under sustainability, the marina is a much-needed asset to the town, and with proper management will reduce the proliferation of boats on Osoyoos Lake. Now, I provided 3 options for council. First one would be to offer Rob Roche and Jordy Hubert each a single commercial marina slip and request proposals a second time for commercial operators who are interested in operating out of one or more commercial slips. This option would provide Mr. Gallagher with an opportunity to officially submit his proposal, and any other company that was interested in leasing multiple slips, which may not have applied due to the conditions placed on the original RFP. Council would need to pass a resolution amending the marina operations policy to allow more than one commercial slip to be leased out to one company. And second one, due to the fact that the town has already gone through the process of requesting proposals for the commercial slips, and we only received 2, which complied with the marina operations policy, the remaining 2 commercial slips could be leased out as regular slips for the balance of 2012 moorage season. However, at this time, we do not have anyone on the wait list for a regular marina slip. Or number 3, we could amend the marina operations policy to allow more than one commercial slip to be leased out to one company, and then offer Rob Roche 1 commercial slip and offer Jordy Hubert 3 commercial marina slips. Staff recommend that council directs staff to proceed with option 1 and to pass a resolution removing bullet number 14 from the marina operations policy, which states a maximum of 1 marina slip, commercial or regular, within the marina shall be leased out to any one person or company. This option would not allow anyone to apply that did not apply earlier due to the conditions placed on the request for proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Very, very full report, lots of information there. So what are council's wishes on this, please? Councilor Ryan.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question for Mr. Shannon, and that is We talked about the fact that the private slips for private vessels would be, they would have a 1-year lease, but they would also be eligible if they were up to date and so on to continue leasing it indefinitely. Is that the case with the commercial too, that they would have a option to, or a right to continue leasing if they were fully paid and so on?
Yes, it would, Councillor Ryan. We had considerable amount of debate on February the 22nd when the policy was adopted by Council, which states that moorage license holders in good standing will be offered the first right of refusal for a boat slip in the next subsequent year, which may be subject to revisions in the Marina Moorage License Agreement and or a change in the fees. But it clearly states moorage license holders in good standing, so that'll be both.
Okay. Yep. And actually, another question, if I may. If we were to remove that, we would actually, the clause in the policy that you're suggesting, we would presumably not open up more than one slip to individuals or regular boat slips, but rather just to the commercial. Was that your intention? If you went with my suggested option, then we'd still have 4 commercial slips. We would give 1 slip to each of the applicants, and we would request proposals a second time for the other 2. Yes, no, I appreciate that. I'm saying that the policy change that you're talking about, you only wanted it to apply to commercial slips, not to regular slips or slips that are leased by individuals for their own personal use. Well, we were suggesting that we just remove it from the policy altogether. If we did that, then it would mean that an individual could have more than 1 slip as well as a commercial. It would mean that an individual could place his name on the wait list again for another regular slip. Yes, it would. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or the bullet could be crafted in such a way that that it only applied to commercial. Yeah. Or it only applied to regular. Yeah. Well, I certainly approve. I support the option 1, but I think I would like to see it crafted so that it just applies to the commercial, personally, because I think that it's important to give as many people an opportunity as possible for regular slips, and by accepting your number 1, we're at least having a second run at any other commercial operators out there who wish to participate in getting a slip in our marina. Then, if I may, I would suggest that rather than remove the bullet number 14, that it be reworded to state a maximum of 1 regular marina slip within the marina shall be leased out to any 1 person. Good, and then it would just apply it to that. Yeah. Okay. Good. I would move with those the option with that change in the policy.
Seconder, Councillor McCordoff, and Councillor Rhodes, please, speaking to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping to squeak a couple of questions in before the motion was presented, but sorry about that. Just wondering about Mr. Gallagher's. This is a 2-parter. His proposal, was it acceptable? Filled all the criteria. And the second part of the question is there any legislation that would stop us from moving forward with his proposal at this time? Well,
Mr. Gallagher hasn't purchased a boat yet for the parasailing, and he's when and if he does purchase a boat, I don't believe his company has experience in operating a parasailing outfit yet, and he would, if I got this straight, he would have to be trained by the company that sells the boats for the first month on the lake. As far as the first proposal for the renting of boats, yeah, he's pretty much meets all the same criteria as the Osoyoos Marine proposal. I can say that the boats that Mr. Gallagher is looking at are a beautiful boat, but this particular one is 33 feet long. It's quite a bit too big to obtain moorage within the marina. He has suggested that he would purchase a smaller one that may even fit in one of the slips to start with. So you have to determine just exactly which direction he wanted to go off the bat. And but to answer your question, yes, his boat rental proposal is equal to that of Osoyoos Marine.
And what about the legislative part, or, you know?
Sorry?
Is there any restrictions in that area? So we put out an RFP, he never met the deadline. Is it legal for us to move forward if we should choose that?
Well, we had restrictions placed on the RFP because we attached a copy of our marine operations policy as well, and posted it on the website, and pointed out to any potential applicants that you could not apply for more than one commercial slip at one time. And you could only have one if you were one company or one person.
If I understand the question from Councillor Rhodes, it would be to the fact that he missed the deadline.
Exactly.
So Councillor Rhodes was asking, is that legal? That we're entertaining his proposal after he missed the deadline.
I don't believe it is, but I'd let Barry speak to that.
Well, I think what we're saying here is we're not entertaining his proposal at all.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're creating another RFP. We're requesting another RFP process be set up because our first one didn't allow for more than one slip to be given out. Right. So now we have potentially two applicants who have said that they've expressed an interest in renting or leasing more than one slip. So I think in all fairness, we can't consider the first proposal because it wasn't in the RFP. Right. And so it's just only fair to go back and say, okay, here's a new RFP, present your business case, okay, and then we'll look at them and bring them back to council for decision.
Great. That's what we wanted. Is that right, Councillor Rhodes?
Yeah, well put. Thank you.
Okay. I guess I just have a question, and that would be at that 33-foot length. To me, that's a horrifying statement for Osoyoos Lake. That is just way, way too much boat for this small lake, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks at home watching on TV, and they're about as horrified as I am. So to Mr. Gallagher, 33 feet is too big. Councillor Pont.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about is also the operations plan. We have, knowing Jordy, he's here located with his operations here, and the industrial park gives him great access, again, for dealing with any of those operation plans and concerns that might happen over time. I guess my concern is to say that the operations for Mr. Gallagher may be different, and how that may affect his business in the marina if he's not located in Osoyoos. So I'm just curious to see how that the operations plans would differ. Again, with Jordy being from Osoyoos and having access from his own company to where Mr. Gallagher may be located to deal with his rental unit.
Well, as I was saying, the actual proposals by Mr. Gallagher were just like a stop by in the office and a couple of emails and some discussion. They were not a full package proposal such as was submitted by Jordy Hubert of Osoyoos Marine. Both operators have been notified and advised that we're not going to allow very much advertising within the marina. There will be one sign posted at the marina that the 4 commercial operators will share. Most of them that have applied for any of this type of commercial use have stated that they would operate mostly through an internet-based service, and then meet the clientele at the dock or someplace and complete the transactions. The They've both been advised that there's no place at the marina for storing all those boat toys and wakeboards and life jackets and the accessories that are needed sometimes to operate these types of businesses. But I would look forward to reviewing a more detailed request for proposal from Mr. Gallagher if it was to be submitted in the future. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. Thank you.
Great. So do we have a motion on the floor? Could we have that read back, please?
Moved by Councillor Ryan and seconded by Councillor McCordoff, and resolved that Council direct staff to proceed with an offer to each Rob Roush and Jordy Hubert a single commercial marina slip, and request proposals a second time for commercial operators who are interested in operating out of one or more commercial slips, and further resolve that Council approves changing the wording of bullet number 14 from the Marina Operations Policy to state a maximum of one marina slip, commercial or regular slip, within the marina shall be leased out to any one person. Something's wrong there. Yeah.
That has to change on
yeah.
that. A maximum of one marina slip, a maximum of one regular marina slip. The commercial component was scratched on that.
A maximum of one regular marina slip within the marina shall be leased out to any one person.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay. Councillor Ryan, further information?
No, I just wanted to make it very clear that my understanding, and I think it's from the motion that was read, is that we are simply awarding two slips to two different
Yes.
commercial operations at this point. We're changing the requirement that commercial can only own one, and now we're putting it out again for proposals.
And I think what I also heard here is the operation plan should be a part of that RFP, because that should probably be a part of the evaluation.
Yeah, the advert will be very similar to the first one, that they'll have to submit an operations plan as well.
Okay. Any further? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I'm just going to stop here for a minute. And do we have Environment Canada here by any chance? How'd you like to be rescued? Well, if you enjoy yourself, we'll be going for a while. But I was going to let you come up and do your presentation now, and then you can still stay if you want, or you can go outside.
You didn't anticipate this kind of reform.
Okay.
I'm with Environment Canada. We're with Environment Canada out of Vancouver, myself, Bill Scott, and Bruce Lohnes. And our function is to install and maintain weather stations and networks of them across the country, of which our jurisdiction basically is BC Yukon. And there's a weather station here in Osoyoos. It's been there since about 1989. I helped put that one in myself, actually. And it's come up for discussion about relocating it somewhere else. Mostly as an initiative, I believe, on your side, because we're just in the corner of that park. And we agree, too, the exposure of the sensors of that weather station, it's not optimal there for a number of reasons. The lush grass, the sprinkler system, the effects from the trees on the precipitation pickup and the wind sensing and everything else, and the paved roads on two sides of it affect temperatures and everything else. So we'd be quite interested in the potential of relocating to a site that better fits proper national and international standards.
And a bit of the background is that was actually citizen-driven. There's a couple of citizens that this is their pet project, that they really believe that we're getting inaccurate information there. And if you're into science, I mean, if you're getting inaccurate information, it's not worth much. And Councillor McCordoff here, that was one of her projects as a new councillor. So she's sort of the ramrod on this that has taken it forward. And you know, as we promote, we do promote the fine weather of Osoyoos. I don't know if we necessarily have to be the hot spot, but I've seen some information coming out of that particular site that is just very, very, very wrong.
Temperature-wise, you're referring to?
Temperature-wise, yep, for sure. There was a report even early this spring. We were the only center in the southern half of British Columbia that was below freezing. We were -6 I'm going, well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm talking Cranbrook and the whole southern half of the province. We were -6 and everyone else had plus numbers on it. So if we're getting that kind of data.
Yeah, it could have been faulty sensors. I couldn't say exactly. I don't know what the incident was. I mean, sure, it can happen kind of thing. But even in general notes, the temperatures are going to be biased somewhat by its location. Yes, sure. I agree. And since it is a cooperative weather station, we'd be quite agreeable to looking into other potential sites. And we can maintain that cooperativeness of it, where it's your property and you handle such and such for the infrastructure, and we'll still maintain and install the equipment on it kind of thing. We'd be very interested in looking into that.
Would the airport site, have you been in town?
Yeah, I know where the airport is.
Okay.
And had a quick look at it too. There's certain optimizations we have to consider, like reasonable security, access to AC power, different things like this. That I'm not sure what part of the airport would fulfill that. There's nearby power and things. Okay. But exposure-wise, yes, it is good for the openness of it and the natural kind of fauna you would have up there. Much better than over a watered grass.
Sure.
Yeah,
coming off the sand rather than
That's right. So that potential is quite good.
Okay.
But like I say, if you could, on your half of the cooperative kind of setup, deliver the power and maybe handle the concrete footings kind of thing, it can be discussed further at a later time, just what degree of cooperativeness I'm talking about.
Councilor McCordoff, I've got to get this over to you. So.
Thank you. Yes, there's several people in town that have dealt with weather stations for almost 100 years. One lady who contacted me, I'm sorry, am I not in this? One lady who contacted me who lives here, said that her father had one in the Orchard, just north of the Husky, since 1920s, and he used to take the data from the white box and send it to the Osoyoos Times once a week, and also send it to the Summerland Research Station. So this lady and her brother are quite interested in seeing proper readings. I guess one of the things we were concerned with, not only is it possible to move it, but what are the logistics? Who moves it? What is the cost? And that's part of it.
You're right. In this case, it would be far more cost effective and make more sense if a new one just goes in elsewhere. Because we structure them different now. We have different kinds of housings and things that are much better, and it's not really a problem. And so in other words, it'd be an upgrade at the same time. And this one would keep functional until the other one's ready to go. And basically, we would dispose of this. It's so outdated. We retain the sensors.
Yes.
But the structure of it we'd have little use for it.
And do you then cancel the readings? I think somebody told us that they would start again. They would not keep the readings from the old sensor, and they would have to start the new ones, and they would not keep the old records. Is that correct?
Ongoing record? It all depends on how far away and what kind of an elevation change it is from site A to B.
Okay.
It's within a certain amount, and I can't quote it right off the top of my head. Distance and elevation, it can be considered the same data stream.
Okay.
Otherwise, it
would have to
start with a new ID code and everything else.
So you would be interested in putting this in and pay for it?
That's all part of it. Like I said, it's cooperative, and if it's a significant cost for us, then the answer is no.
Yeah.
But if we remain as a cooperative, and you handle the parts that you can handle, we handle the parts we can handle, and I won't get into the details right now, then we'd be quite interested in it.
I believe we would.
Yeah,
for
sure.
sure.
Established in '89, and where it is, that's what was offered to us.
Right. Yes.
We didn't pick that spot, and so we went with it. It was still useful for our forecasters. That was our main driving force, is our forecast operations, not so much the climate. We have a network of stations across the country called the Reference Climatological Station Network, and those are the primary ones we focus on. This site isn't one on that network, so the climate record is a secondary factor for this station.
Okay.
Whereas some other stations like Princeton and Kelowna, Summerland, these are on this grid of this reference climate station network, and they're continually upgraded at our cost and everything else. But this is sort of an in-between kind of thing. To help out our forecasters, we agreed to go into this cooperative. And it's worked out good. We're glad of it. But that's the main driving force on our side, is helping out the forecasters as opposed to a climate record. But we still record all the data that comes out of here from day one. And the climate record that's there right now would be established for that site where it is, And if it's too many miles away, the new site starts a new record, but that old one's still there and on file forever and ever. It doesn't get thrown out. Just it gets known that that's from that site, this record is from this site.
Well, I think we're in agreement. I would think that we'd like to pursue looking at this and figure out what the costs are. And
yeah, and a critical factor, like I mentioned, is the exposure of the site.
Yes.
Like the site buildings and all this kind of thing. But yeah,
Well,
we're
sure.
quite willing to look into it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
And it would be, really be nice if we get on that grid.
Would be nice, but pretty hard to
Where's
do.
the application form for that?
Yeah, it depends too on what the past records were. It has to be from the time that the network was first evolved. It had to have 30 years of past records.
Okay.
Most of them were manual records, and some scientist types picked that.
Okay.
The grid. It wasn't us.
And I think Summerland probably from the research station.
It's been there for
yeah,
1,000 years too.
forever. And, yeah.
Absolutely, and that's a commitment for ongoing data between us and Agriculture Canada as well. And that's considered a primary station, yeah. And this is sort of almost a filler station because it's a population center that we quite like having the station here because of that reason. Our forecasters have to forecast for this. Otherwise, you have to rely on BC highway stations or forestry stations, and they're not nearly as accurate. The calibrations aren't as good. You know, you mentioned there's problems here.
Right.
I don't know what the deal was here, but we do our calibration checks on a routine.
Sure.
And anytime we're notified the sensor may be out, we get onto it as soon as we can and replace that sensor.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the particular deal was here with that temperature.
Well, and of course, we're a tourism town. Canada's warmest welcome is our tagline, and people are checking the weather in Osoyoos all the time.
Oh,
so we really want to have the good report going out there rather than something that isn't accurate.
Oh, I know, and Mark Madriga likes giving out this one.
Well, I was going to mention Mark Madriga. I mean, he loves Osoyoos. He always mentions Osoyoos on his weather report. So
His sister used to teach here.
Oh, that's
Yes,
why.
That's why. But you know, on the morning news, they have they have Oliver on there and not Osoyoos, and that bothers me every time I see it.
I don't know what that's about, but that's up to them. Not us.
I know.
Because we don't have a station that's an automated one in Oliver, so
Okay.
I don't know who's it is.
Where they get.
Airport.
Oh.
Those are all airports that run at the bottom.
Okay.
And I guess another question would be, there's a station at the Canadian Customs, and it's got looks like quite a bit of equipment there. You haven't seen it.
It's not ours.
It's air quality.
But they even do air quality, but they've got all the other stuff there too, and it's Environment Canada. It's a partnership of Environment Canada.
Must be a different group to do with air quality or something as opposed to meteorology.
Okay.
Because it would be ours. I would be involved directly if it was.
Well, it's interesting. So do have a look at it. There's a sign on the building. It's got its own trailer.
Yeah.
So just instead of, if you were heading for the United States, instead of going to the right, there's a little business office area. So you take a left, and there's a chain link fence. It's in its own compound, and it's Environment Canada and a BC environment. Ministry of the Environment.
It could be something that's nothing to do with us. If
But
BC environment is
they got towers, trailers. We might be able to piggyback in there at no money.
Yeah, but if we're not doing the calibrations, the verifications, the traceability back to national and international standards and everything else, we can't justify it or put our print onto it. And so in other words, the media it's up to them if they get a feed off it and they can use it all they want.
Right.
But we won't put our stamp on it if it's not ours.
Right.
Kind of an idea. And so the likelihood is I wouldn't want to get involved with that. In other words, you
Okay.
can use it however you want and promote it, take that information, put it on your radio station. That's fine. But just I can't stamp it.
No, I don't think we have access to that information.
Right.
So we're happy with the other program. I'm just saying that do have a look at it when you're in town.
I'm always interested.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And other people's stuff. Anyway, yes, we're very interested in looking at other potential sites to keep this weather station going. And like I say, everything to do with the equipment and how it's handled, the maintenance program and everything else, we'll obviously fund all that. Just the infrastructure. There's more to it than just the cost of the concrete too. Say if we had to do this ourselves and set up our own plot of land somewhere, we'd have to either purchase or lease some land, and that's getting to be a really awkward thing for us to go through the real property process.
Right.
It requires environmental site assessments and stuff, and it could go on years. Some sites have gone on 5-6 years. We're still waiting to get an environmental site assessment or find out there's some native artifacts nearby or something like this. And So if it's on your property and you do the base work, we just are bolting our stuff onto your stuff. It bypasses all of that.
We should be able to have a site with power, and we're the chain link fence specialists right now with all our marinas and dog parks going in and dog swim areas.
Oh, no problem.
So we could probably have that chain linked and.
Yeah, I'd supply all the drawings of everything that needs to be there and all the details and everything else. So it's actually not a costly thing to put in the infrastructure.
Okay.
No problem. Next stage is I want to find out who would I meet with next to potentially talk about these other maybe town-owned properties.
We would go to our CAO, Mr. Romanko. He's the full-time contact.
Okay. And I would assume we'd hear
we
back.
could do some
it's
trade some business
not something
cards.
you want to do tomorrow, is it? Or
no, we're
since you're here?
Stopping at a few different places today. But if a site was, like you mentioned, the airport, I'd probably take another look at it, but if there's another one you had in mind, I'd take a drive-by at least to keep it in mind, so if it comes up in conversation later, I'm in Vancouver, I know what we're talking about, that's all.
Well, we'll trade business cards for contacts and things like that, and we'll stay in touch, and Councilor McCordoff, she has a contact, I know with Bruce, and we have and we have Councilor Rhodes with a question here, or a comment.
I think it may have been answered. I was sensing that you were leaving.
Pardon me?
I was sensing that you may be leaving right away. I always like to talk about next steps and timelines and that kind of thing. I think we kind of covered it a little bit.
Okay, I didn't know if we'd have more time today to do that, or you've got other issues.
Well, as long as we have a process in place where we're going to develop those soon. Yeah. My question was way out of line here for, I think it was already answered before I asked it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, Council, any other questions, comments?
So is it possible for you to meet with Mr. Romanko
I
while
don't
you're
know.
here?
Are you staying in town?
Well, we could. We were loose on that.
Oh.
I've got other sites to visit, but we could visit them later tomorrow. So if you wanted to meet tomorrow morning or something like that, if it's better for your timing, or after this meeting, what works best with you?
I don't know what time they're going to let me out of here.
Have you got a certain time tomorrow morning, maybe?
I could probably push our directors meeting back a little bit. We'd probably meet at probably 8:15 or so here, if that would work.
That would work.
Yeah, I just can't think of any other sites off the top of my head that would be public lands, but we could, that would meet some of the, we'd have to talk criteria first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then from there, I could probably take a look at what some potential sites are.
Okay.
Okay, so if we meet here tomorrow at 8:15, and we can go from there.
Okay, I'll just grab a couple of our cards. I don't know if you have one on you.
Okay, well, great report. That's a little boost for everybody. I think a lot of us would like to see an accurate weather station attracting people to Canada's warmest welcome community. So I'm having tongue trouble today. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
You know, and you're free to leave, or like the royalty, you can stay and take it all in.
I didn't get a crown.
Okay, thanks a lot. If I'm following this properly, it looks like we would be heading into one of the late items, and this would be the application for funding under the gas tax agreement, strategic funding report, and a report from the CAO. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. In front of council, you have here a report that speaks to application for funding under the gas tax agreement, strategic funding, specifically the General Strategic Priorities Fund. This fund is here to assist in building things like public transit, local roads, bridges, tunnels, active transportation, community energy, water, wastewater, and solid waste infrastructure projects that contribute to reduced greenhouse gas emissions, cleaner water, and cleaner air. We submitted, actually, I guess, a number of times over the last 3 or 4 years. We have submitted a project into this grant program. The projects that have been submitted basically related to the water twinning into areas 8 and 9 of the irrigation district. Initially, we were making applications on the projects as a whole at $6.6 million, I think. We changed our strategy last year to break the project down, and we submitted a project in the amount of $3.2 million. The project last year was turned down. Subsequent to that, at the invitation of the funders, I contacted them and received some feedback on the nature or on the quality of our application. The feedback that I received was our application was a very sound technical application. However, it only met the stronger the area of cleaner water, and I was told that many of the approved grants met the areas of cleaner air, cleaner water, and also the reduction of greenhouse gases. So in front of you, you have a recommendation that we resubmit the, that we resubmit the application for water twinning in phase 1 of the rural twinning area project, and that we would subsequently make some changes to that application to try and meet some of the areas of the reduction of greenhouse gases. And this application is actually pulled together by True Consulting, and we've been in dialogue about what some of the additional items we could consider, things like trying to measure how much less power people would use in terms of boiling water, how much gas people would save by not driving into town to pick up distilled water, all those types of things that would try and build a component to that to the application. So we don't have another real project that fits the criteria. They're looking for larger projects that meet regional components. So that's why this particular project has been brought forward several times.
Okay. Council, please. Councilor Ryan.
Mr. Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to again move that we approve staff making application to the Gas Tax Priority Fund in the amount of $3.258 million for phase 1 of the rural area twinning project.
Okay. And that seconder, Councilor Rhodes.
And I'll
speak
to
the
that,
motion,
please. Yes. Thank you. I just point out that this is, it says phase 1, but I think there's a little transposition of numbers in 148th Avenue instead of 184th. But, you know, every time, as I've said before, every time I see that our mandatory notice in the spring in the paper saying boil water, it makes me shudder. And so I think this is really important, and I think the points that Mr. Romanko mentioned about the gas and the fuel and so on, I mean, the people that come out of our grocery stores with these huge bottles of water that they've had to take home, you know, it's just not acceptable. And what I'm going to do, this is the third time lucky, I think, but just to hedge my bet, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket, and I'm going to give the proceeds to this project if I win.
Excellent.
You have that on video, you have it on the computer, and so
Great.
Wish me luck.
I hope you win big. Any other comments as we're looking at this project? I guess I have one, and that there's actually another component here, and I don't think you're going to get any twinning money unless we have meters. And I know when the town of Oliver, when they went twinning, they were told meters. So there's probably another $1 million that we should be looking at, because it's going to kick in, and through the Okanagan Basin Water Board, my feedback is that you don't get any more water upgrade money without going to metered usage. So There may be a town component here, and I don't have that as a given fact, but certainly Oliver had to go into twinning for theirs.
My understanding is that the only portion that really had to be twinned was the portion that received the only portion that needed to be metered.
Metered, I'm sorry.
Was the portion that was twinned.
Okay.
So yes, if we're successful, that's the area that would have to be metered.
Metered, okay. So not the whole town if we didn't desire, but you may look at it at that time as whether we're going ahead with metering or not.
That certainly is available to council.
Right, once we go down that road. Okay. Any other Councillor Rhodes?
Not a comment, just a quick question about matching amounts. Is this a matching grant or?
No, this is an outright grant.
An outright, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's kind of a no-brainer, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, anytime you can get people off boil water advisory. I lived for a period of time up on the East Bench, and you don't really know what a nuisance it is until you have to boil water. It's quite a nuisance to have to do that all the time and to have that going on. So yeah, this is good. Any other comments? All in favor of this going forward? Opposed? That is carried. Another late item was the additional sewer services to the Osoyoos Indian Band. This also has a high interest quotient involved here. So Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The town and the Osoyoos Indian Band have an existing sewer service agreement that enabled I'll just say the OIB, Osoyoos Indian Band, to access 264 single-family units of sewer service. The OIB pays a $6,000 per unit capacity charge to the town and regular sewer rates. Currently, there are only 18.5 units of capacity remaining under the old agreement. The OIB is asking for additional sewer capacities to enable development on OIB lands. Some of this development is to come on stream this summer, and the remaining is future development. The band is also asking for water services to a future service station and modular home developments. The critical decision lies with approving additional services to facilitate the opening of the newly developed campground stalls and the future service station. The campground requires 38 units of sewer and only 18.5 remain in the existing agreement, leaving a shortfall of 19.5 units, and the service station requires an additional 4 units for a total of 23.5. I had made an inquiry to the OIB as to when they felt their service station was going to become on stream, and I received that date after this report was done, and it's projected that they will have their service station operational in September of 2013. So it's not an immediate rush to consider the service station. We can take a look at the water and sewer agreement on that at the same time. The capacity of town system is limited by the system's ability to provide spray effluent in the appropriate areas. Currently, concept plans have been developed for providing additional spray areas, and the projects are budgeted for in 2013 and 2014. The funds are currently available in reserves to finance the additional area development. These areas will include an area around Desert Park, the high school, and the airport. The first priority will be to develop the Desert Park facility through seeking permission from Ministry of Environment to dump historic surplus amounts into the sand pits south of Desert Park. True Consulting has cautioned that these projects should be in the implementation phase prior to making commitments to significantly larger numbers of services. A flow meter will be installed shortly to assist in assessing the amount of sewer that is coming from the OIB lands. In terms of the community, it certainly assists the community. Community has to retain sufficient amounts of capacity to meet its commitments to its current uses, and the town has a good business relationship with the OIB, and providing the needed services will assist in maintaining that relationship. From an organizational perspective, additional work to redevelop sewer agreements and develop new water agreements. Budget, providing the additional 23.5 23.5 units will provide an additional $141,000 to the town to assist with developing the effluent distribution system. The total servicing of the campground and the store will generate $252,000 to the sewer fund. Sustainability certainly assists in achieving clean environmental goals and the town's sustainability goals. 3 options are presented for council's consideration. The first being to approve the request for 23.5 units of sewer and inform the OIB that a capacity and an OIB flow assessment will have to occur prior to committing to the additional units. Option number 2, deny the request for the additional 23.5 units until a capacity and flow assessment are completed. And 3, provide an additional 19.5 units to facilitate the campground operations. The administration is recommending option number 1. The store will not be functional until next year, and the campground use is seasonal. Therefore, the impacts on the system will not be considered a significantly larger number of services.
Okay, council, please. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So based on that report, I'd like to jump right in and make motion based on option number 1.
Okay. And a seconder, Councillor Pont. Discussion? Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm feeling, well, this kind of came to us today, but I'm feeling fairly confident in our ability to look after our ponds by looking at some of the options that we have for spraying some of that effluent out of there. That seems to be the only obstacle that's really in front of us right now. I'm not overly scared by the numbers that are being provided here, because I think the flow meter will probably determine that it's much less than it really is, because we always have to plan for maximum capacity, and I'd be surprised if we have achieved that level, and if we have, it's probably not for a sustainable period of time. I'd really hate to be a part of a decision that would negate any of this stuff, speaking of the developments that are in works right now and being developed in the future. And I do feel pretty comfortable with it. I'm not a scientist, but I think the numbers are there and support. And I really like the flow meter thing, because that will answer that question definitively. And if it is a huge concern at that time, I think we can go back and reevaluate it. But I'm feeling pretty good that, you know, the maximum capacity, I don't think we've achieved it.
Okay, Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I had a couple of questions about it. First of all, in terms of the number, the 23.5, it looks to me, I wasn't quite sure what their expectation was, but we're saying we've got 18.5 and they want 4 more. So is that 22.5? Did the 4 get added to the 19.5? I wasn't sure.
I think the shortfall is 19.5.
Yeah, if you to get to they need a total of 38 to service the campground,
right.
And so that initially I had done the math here, and then the finance guy came back and said no, it's they need 19.5 units for the campground, and another 4 units for the store, so that would be 23.5.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
good.
I didn't.
Yeah, I wasn't
change to 118.5 there. It should have been 19.5.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I think you know, I'm comfortable with us giving them what we had committed to, but you know, when you talk about their, you know, I keep hearing about different things they're doing, and I would like for us to request some kind of a plan as to what their 5-year build out is going to be. Because, you know, I know they're having a phase 4 of Spirit Ridge. They're putting in an expansion to their I think their trailer park. They talk about the modular homes. I'm not sure what the numbers are here, or how much more they're intending to do. So that would give me a lot more comfort. I mean, here we're roughly within what we've already committed to, but the flow meter, I agree, is going to be really important. But, you know, it's also possible that in the future they're going to say, well, you know, you can sell your interest in that, and maybe people start living in those Spirit Ridge homes for, you know, a longer period of time. Maybe they become permanent residences. So that would definitely make an increase. So it always concerns me about our capacity, because you know, even the amount that we're taking, the 6,000 per unit, I mean, is that really adequate? Is that something we need to look at again in terms of that being a capacity building charge? So I'm okay with this, but I would like to get some longer range projections.
I think I'll follow up that, because I have some concerns. I'm probably to have the least comfort with this going forward, maybe because I know some issues that we have with our lagoons and that. But we've got this block here, and I'm the same as Councillor Ryan. I think this 23 units is okay. I've had an individual in my office that's doing that 47 unit modular home, and that's sounding like it's going ahead. And that's on band lands, and they'll be looking for sewer and water on that. So we have this one here, which is 23. Then I don't know the status of the Bellstar relationship, but above the golf course, we've had a presentation that was going ahead, and there was 10 sold, and that started at as low as 20 or 30, but the latest number I heard up there, that was 40 some odd units, 44, 48 or whatever. I'm not sure, because it's sort of been a bit of a moving target as they try to design the market that they're going after. So we've got that. We've got the 23 here, the station, the modular home, and I think they're committed to that hookup with Bellstar. A lot of units there. Our sewers lagoons are full, absolutely full. And of course, when we get into this, we start talking climate change, when we get into this weather pattern that we've been in for 2 years now, I hope the heck we get out of it soon, because it's not doing any good for anybody, including people that like to be outdoors and garden and golf and all that. But as we get into these cold, wet springs, we're not moving that effluent out of our ponds. I'm going to use a word like critical or crucial, that we get that sand pit down at the end of Desert Park, the south end of Desert Park, and you know, we're going to be looking at that, and maybe we can lever this information that we have in partnering with OIB to help us get that outlet. But we need another outlet for effluent fairly soon. Maybe it's the one across from out by the landfill. There's Crown land out there that's been on hold, but we should be getting another program going. And if this is the driver to get that, then that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need that big picture look, and Mr. Doucette is bringing that forward. That's in the works. So it's no surprise. But I think it's important if we're looking at these type of scenarios. So that's my input. Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, I don't want to dominate the discussion here, but you know, I think there are a couple of other considerations too, Mr. Mayor. The other is that, you know, I take it from the report that this, you know, these 18.5 units at 6,000 a unit, plus, you know, ongoing payments for use, you know, is an older agreement. Mm-hmm. Now we have been getting into a very wise practice of getting amenity benefits, you know, for subdivisions and for larger projects, and I think we have to look at that. Secondly, the OIB has a state-of-the-art wastewater system in their Similkameen Park in north of Oliver, and you know, so they've obviously proven that they are prepared to go out and buy a system that will, you know, meet their needs and meet their development needs. So it's not as if they are unable to provide for themselves. And so I think we have to kind of look at this in a very kind of a hard-nosed business way and say, how much more can we afford to provide for them, because we have no control over how much they build and where they build it and all that sort of thing. And each time we add another unit on their property, we are taking away a unit of capacity on our own. And if we have to pay for it, then I think we need to be getting some sort of upfront payment in recognition of our future expansion needs.
Okay, so you don't, like that is covered in the $6,000.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, I mean, is 6,000, that's an old number. How far back does that go?
And I think that's fair comment.
Yeah.
That number, maybe if, depending on where we're going with these, but if the ones that I just mentioned are all coming on, maybe that we should get a fresh number from Mr. Underwood at our engineering services, and maybe we should be talking new numbers, not old numbers, and I agree with that completely. Councillor Rhodes?
Just so I can repeat myself again for effect, the simplistic view that I have of capacity is our ability to discharge stuff from our ponds. It doesn't really have anything to do with what's in the ground, where it is, and all that kind of stuff. That's the way I view capacity. Mayor Wells stated that we do have a plan in place to discharge, to handle, and increase our capacity considerably. If we're in fear of this particular project, what are we going to do with our Northwest Sewer project? If we're at a critical stage today, holy man, where are we going to be in a few weeks when that flushing starts? I believe that we have a solid plan in place to discharge that. We have a number of options that I'm hoping that will be presented to us. That's why I'm comfortable with this particular request. Everything that comes to us in the future, we can deal with it at that time. I know it's important for us to have due diligence about what's going to happen, but at this particular time with this particular request, I feel pretty comfortable with it.
Mr. Remanko, please.
Just speaking to that plan, our 5-year capital plan has identified the expenditure of $50,000 this year to enhance our discharge system. And then if I just off the top of my head, I think we have about $450,000 budgeted for next year and $500,000 budgeted for the year after that. And those funds are all in place. So it's just a matter of the design and concepts being done, and then we can move. And then shortly we'll be talking to the high school to talk about the potential to discharge on their sports fields, and then we'll go from there.
And again, with the fields and the golf course, they're just not using the water that they traditionally have for May. They're not taking anything out of those ponds. So we need the warm weather. That's the issue. Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, just again, when we hear Mr. Remanko talk about the 500,000, the 50,000, and so on, we're talking big numbers here. Now, are those numbers being replaced by adequate amenity payments and so on, capacity payments? That's my point. It's easy to talk about 23 units. I mean, that's easy, but are we pricing it right? I mean, this is really what I'm saying. If we have to continue to put in systems that will distribute it, all over the place, that's costly. It's not just a matter of, you don't just run a pipe like in the old days, down into a hole. So I'm just saying, if we could find out from them, I mean, for crying out loud, when we have a developer come, we say, we work hard today and on the Oasis about a staged development. We know over 10 years how many units are going to be built there. We don't know that about the OIB. At least I don't, and I'd sure like to. If somebody else knows, please tell me.
Okay, so going back to the resolution, which was to approve these amounts going forward. I think we've got the information out there. I think staff has heard it, that we have to start paying attention to some of the discharges and outfalls and capacity. That's truly what it's all about. Anything further? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Ryan, opposed, please. That motion carries. Another addition item. So this is for the 2012 grants and aid. Mr. Newman, please.
Excuse me,
Councillor
I will-
McCordoff.
Yes, I will recuse myself.
Okay. Councillor McCordoff is recusing herself because she's involved with 3 of the committees that have applied for the grants. Not all of them successful, but she has been on those committees. So, Mr. Newman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just got it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the purpose of getting the meeting over, I'll cut to the chase, and basically we have $38,000 budgeted for the program, and we had received over $67,000 worth of applications from different organizations. On April 2nd, at the 2012 CAL meeting, I presented a report for the allocation of $38,000, and part of that included the organization's grant project, the benefits to the community, the sustainability implications, and allocated the $38,000 out. Council at that meeting agreed to put in place a committee made up of Councillor Ryan, Councillor Plant, and to sit down with myself and determine the grant allocations with some other considerations and bring it back to Council at this meeting. So in front of you, you have 17 organizational applications in front of you, and the implications to the community of Osoyoos benefits from the work that the organizations do in this community. The budget, as I mentioned, $38,000. The sustainability, supporting the community organizations through the grant and aid program, strengthens the sustainability of the volunteer groups in Osoyoos. The options are support the committee's funding recommendations for 2012 community grant and aid program with the addition of the Royal Canadian Legion, or option 2 is do not support the committee's funding recommendations for 2012 and advise them to revisit the applications. Administration recommends number 1.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor Rhodes.
Just one, well, actually, I think I'll make that motion since the mic is right in front of me right now. But I would like to speak to it if there's a seconder, yeah. Thank
you. Seconder for that, please. Councillor Ryan. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you. Compliments to the committee. I know I expressed it this morning. I'd like to do it publicly. Great job. I think your evaluation was very fair, very reasonable for everybody. So great work. And I just wanted to ask about the Legion part of it. It says see attached. Is that on the list as a list?
Yes, it is on. It's right on the list. The last.
So we have achieved that $38,000.
Yes, we have.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all I wanted.
Okay. Anything else on the grants? Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to again thank Councillor Ryan and Jim Newman for this process. I think going through this was a great way to do this process, and I would recommend that we obviously continue this for the next year as well. And I just wanted to say also that when you're dealing with the applications that came in, and we have over 60,000, and really we've only got 38. There's always going to be someone that may not be happy, but at the end of the day, I think we felt really good about how we allocated the money, and again, thank you for all the applications as well. They were, it's always a lot easier when the process is done, especially on the application side, to make our decisions that much easier. So we appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Plant. And it's a real tough job. And since I've been around council, this is the third different approach we've taken to this issue. The first one was an outside committee with one councillor on it. They went through it. Then it came to council. Council never seemed to be completely satisfied. It wasn't their decision. So then they went, council took it on, and they did it all themselves. That didn't seem to work either. So because it's a sensitive situation out there. So that didn't seem to work. So then now we've gone to the third one, which is 2 council members and the director of economic community. And well, this looks good. And I just like to say some of the numbers I notice have gone down a little bit. And one of those reasons is we've gone from 12, giving to 12 organizations, to giving to 16 organizations. And as a percent, that's a large number. So we're dealing with more needs and more requests from the community. And you know, they're all good. They really truly are all good reasons. And maybe we have to start putting more money into it. I don't know if that's the answer though either. You don't want people reliant on funding from the town to keep their organizations afloat. So I really want to thank the councillors involved and Mr. Newman. Great that we've got this far. There will be a bit of a process here. We're going to bring the recipient organizations forward to council and do a bit of a presentation. So that's going to happen very soon, I believe. Any other discussion on this? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor McCordock, please. Thanks, Mr. Newman. Now that should wind up all the business component of the meeting, heading into some reports. First one would be cash requirements, to approve the general fund cash requirements in the amount of $1,550,657.36. To approve the Sun Bowl fund cash requirements in the amount of $13,492.75. And to approve to receive net payroll accounts of $128,912.34 for the period of March 31st to April 27th. Any input from council on that? Hearing none, they will all be approved by consensus, adopted by consensus. The next item then is the building permit report for the month of April. Again, have a new dwelling to the tune of $226,000. So that's a great addition. We had 3 last month and 1 this month. So maybe it's starting to percolate a little bit out there. The total for the month, $232,000. Total to date, just over $2 million. And total to date a year ago was just $900,000. So significantly more action out there this year than last year. There's a committee report. There's some minutes from the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Councillor Plant, are you prepared to do that, or are we just going to receive this?
Thank you, Mayor. I think we'll just receive this. This one I kind of talked a little bit about because this goes from March 19th. I guess one of the big highlights on here again is just working our way through the strategic areas from our sustainability plan and putting priority to that. One of the other highlights from that was also a talk about the corrections facility and thinking about a relocation brochure. So that was a little bit discussed, and that will be followed up in the next couple of meetings. But other than that, I think we should receive it for what it is, and March 19th was the date, so
Okay.
already talked about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion to receive, Councillor Rhodes Ryan, all in favor. This has been received. Just a comment, there's a couple of things on here that I wish Mr. Newman had stayed. I think I would like a update on that PNEDC conference that's coming up. Pacific Northeast. We haven't heard anything about that yet, so.
I know there's registrations coming in. I don't know what the numbers are at, but we can make a have them do a report at the 22nd, on the 22nd.
Yeah, yes, that would be good. I think anytime we have that happening in the community, it's good to have that out there, so. Okay, thank you. And the next report would be the CAO report. Mr. Remenko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just a few highlights from the activities that are going on right now. Starting community development, they met, they attended a meeting with the Osoyoos Secondary School in Wade and Hatchie to move forward on developing a golf academy at the high school. Continue to work on the Concert in the Park series slated for June 9th, July 13th, and August 4th. And on the weekend, he met with the Bollywood Film Group as they are in town from May 5th to the 17th with approximately 30 people. In community services, they've cordoned off the grandstand at the Desert Park so that nobody can enter there due to some issues of risk. The Sun Bowl Arena will be shut down May 6th. Today, I see the doors are opened after a very successful season. A lot of calls on the Tap to Tap program, which is sponsored by Fortis and administered through the Green City Solutions, and the interest was generated through our e-news, and that's for free kits for shower heads and shower head replacements and aerators for sinks for water conservation. And they received a grant for $2,000 from the Human Resources Development Department. Although they applied for 6 positions, they got funded for partially on 1. In terms of corporate services, work continues on the 2011 annual report, and attended a couple of staff updates on risk management and tax information. The utility bills have gone out and payments are starting to come in, and they've been working on the no dumping signage and for Dividend Ridge and Starbury Creek, as well as the bylaw changes there. And yes, and in terms of myself, the fire hall work on the fire hall committee continues, scoping out the new fire hall. A couple of us attended the Blue Flag information session at Harrison Hot Springs. This is a national program to get your beaches certified, and that's something we'll be looking at in our next year's business plan. And also reviewed the first draft of the Northwest Sewer historic, sort of the history insert that will go into with the opening of the Northwest Sewer project. Public Works has hired 3 students to assist with community maintenance, welcoming 2 new students and 1 returning, I think, for the 4th summer.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, that's, and he's doing great work for us, and that's Alenko. I can't remember his first name, but Brent.
Okay.
Yeah. And also a number of projects in around the community. People notice Dividend Ridge to the trail sidewalk development project is going. Gyro Beach washroom has been knocked down, and I see the foundations, the footings were poured today. The Gyro Beach parking lot's just about ready for paving. Fuji Court got their sidewalks today, and the Marina parking lot should be ready for paving as well. So I was maybe a little bit premature on the Gyro Beach parking lot. It seems to be a little slower for some reason, but we'll have to find out why. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Remenko. I just have a question, and it was posed by the public, and your report brought it to mind. The sidewalk going to the golf course, what's happening in front of the school?
In front of the school.
Is that going through there? I understand that there's going to be a spark gap or a gap of no sidewalk there.
I think we're going to be running trail there.
Okay.
Be an asphalt path with kind of an asphalt barrier, giving access only to this high school parking lot in certain areas.
Okay.
But we're not doing sidewalk there. It'll be continuous at the start of the asphalt trail.
But there will be continuous in front of there of some
That's
fashion.
my understanding. I'll have to check on that, but
Okay.
I know that's what we talked about.
If you could, please,
Yep.
because I think people are they're seeing that it looks like it's a stop, and and I didn't have the answer. I'm sorry. So, okay, thank you very much. A motion to receive. We can just adopt that by consensus. Thank you for that report, Mr. Romanko. Going to councillor reports, and first off is Councillor Ryan, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be brief because we may have to have a motion to extend our time today, but just first of all, it's been about 3 weeks since we had our last meeting, and of course that means that there are always lots of things happening. Just to summarize, I attended a traffic safety committee meeting with the RCMP and Highways and the CAO, and we were really focusing on crosswalks, whether they are adequate, whether they're in the right place, and whether they're signed properly. And so there's going to be a lot of new signage going up to larger signs and more informative signs to warn drivers that there are crosswalks in certain places. And we're also looking at perhaps amalgamating a couple, but we haven't finalized all that yet, but we're studying that very carefully. I also attended with members of council the South Okanagan Local Government Association, or Southern Okanagan, and that was in Revelstoke, and it was very helpful and very good to. And we looked at a number of resolutions as well as elected new officers and heard from a number of government people and from the Minister of Community Affairs. So that was always good to keep abreast of what's happening. I attended with the Water Quality Society annual general meeting, and happily 2 members of the public stepped forward and joined the board. So that's helpful, and I signed up again for another tour of duty in the Navy on the boat, and looking forward to that, to do the testing about all the different things that we test for in the lake to make sure that it has enough oxygen and what the clarity is and all those sorts of things. I, with other members, met with a delegation of new Democrat Party MLAs who were interested in viewing the area for the proposed national park, and they met with both supporters and opponents of the proposed park. And I want to just mention a couple of other things. One is that the Okanagan International Chorus will be presenting a nice concert at the high school this Friday at 7 p.m. So this is something you don't want to miss. Usually a sold-out crowd, although it's free, but standing room only, I guess, is a better way to describe it. And congratulations to Shoppers Drug Mart and their staff for being the initiators of a Cinco de Mayo festival here in Osoyoos, and a lot of the Main Street merchants got behind that as well, and it's the benefit of Look Good, Feel Better program for helping women with cancer during their time of fighting that disease and continuing to look their best. And also, I hope everybody will turn out for the Rick Hansen Relay, which is Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 at the Sonora Center. So a couple of interesting and important things coming up this week that I hope you'll take advantage of.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You can put my report squarely in kicking a dead horse category if you want, but I really wanted everybody to know how proud I really am of Teresa Cowan and Greg Bylaw for energizing our community and organizing a terrific group of residents to clean up our beautiful and scenic area above Dividend Ridge on April 21st. You know, the sheer volume of litter that we hauled off that mountainside just baffles the imagination. And as, you know, as participants in the human race, we're individually responsible for our own waste. Many of us pass it off as being the responsibility of others and assume that the government will look after it. And really nothing could be further from the truth. And I have a end of paragraph here. If we have to break at any time, just go right ahead for that motion. But you know, it really saddens me the great lengths that some people will go to pass off the responsibility of their garbage. And I want to tell one quick little story about what happened on that particular day on April 21st. So we're up at the very top of the mountain, and I'm with Helen Payne and a couple of other individuals, and we were kicked up into that area by Teresa Cowan right at the very beginning of the day. And we went up there and did our due diligence with picking up what we were told to do. And after that, we noticed a bunch of other stuff. And we were kind of scratching around in the dirt and that kind of thing. And we came upon some bottle caps. Kind of looked like there was only a few of them there, but you know, further scratching in the dirt revealed hundreds of them. I can't even imagine how many there were, perhaps even thousands of them. So if you can imagine us kind of scratching around in the dirt, we stood up and we're all facing in the same direction. And what we were looking at was probably one of the most intensely scenic views anywhere on this world. From our vantage point, we were looking at the rolling hills, you know, the beautiful lake, the vineyards, the orchards, our town. Everything was visible from where we were standing. You know, and it goes through, you know, what type of person would go to such length to get rid of those bottle caps? You know, it's a four-wheel drive road, accessible only by certain types of vehicles. And after going through the challenge of getting up there, why, with what you were looking at, would you throw those bottle caps into that pile? You know, and as a little bit of a sidebar, I'd like to remind everyone that every piece of plastic ever manufactured in the history of mankind is still with us. It's a product that litters our world, chokes our landfills, and to this reckless and uncaring person, I say to you publicly, shame on you. What you did up there was almost inconceivable. Every piece of litter in this world is placed by an action initiated by a person, by one of us. It's unsightly, dangerous to wildlife, unhealthy for humans, and clearly demonstrates how careless we can all be. The solution to stopping litter is to accept the responsibility of our own waste and to ensure that it gets to where it belongs and not polluting our hillsides, our roadways, and our yards. So once again, thanks a lot, Teresa, Greg, and the dozens of people that showed up to work up there. And thank you to every person who has ever bent over and picked up a piece of litter in their lifetime.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor McCordaw, please.
Yeah, thank you. I will be brief because some of the things have already been mentioned, but it has been a busy 2 weeks. We did a cleanup. There was cleanup week in Osoyoos, and we did a cleanup on the dump road as well, which was, I think, on the 23rd or 24th of April. I also was at Silga in Revelstoke, and with the rest of council. I attended, as soon as I got back, the Arts Council dinner and auction, and I was outbid on a couple of things, but I did manage to find a couple of bottles of wine to buy. But I would think the Arts Council did extremely well on that dinner, so good for them. Was very well organized. Councillor Plant and I were here for a child care visit one day, and the kids loved it because they had the microphones on, and they had a great time, and we had to sort of shut that down eventually. I also went and served coffee at McHappy Day at McDonald's one day, and that was great fun. I was also at the Lake Water Quality meeting, where there seemed to be lots of people besides Councillor Ryan to go out on the boat, so that's a good thing. And one day was at the SIR facility with Mayor Wells and some people from the States, and that was a fantastic facility. I'd never been in that before. It was terrific. Also, the Highway 3 lights were officially turned on, the traffic lights, and that was great, except for the rain. And I would just like to say congratulations to the Osoyoos Art Gallery. They did a terrific job of sponsoring the children's show, and I was absolutely amazed at the fantastic artwork from the students at the high school, the elementary school, the Good Shepherd, and the Osoyoos Child Care. And I'm sorry that it's finished. It ended on the 5th, but it was, I think, well attended, and it was excellent. And I have one more plug, and that would be Osoyoos Market on Main will be starting from 8 o'clock until 1 o'clock. Starts on May the 19th, and it's right outside here beside the fountain. And our opening day, we have entertainment each week, and lots of local produce and crafts and artwork. So please come out and join us. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McCordoff. Motion to extend, please. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. 4:59. Councillor Plant, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Everything's been mentioned. What do you guys want me to talk about here? April 24th, pitch-in week, was up on 146th, up towards the landfill. I just wanted to say something about that, because that road was actually not in bad shape. And I want to say that the landfill staff did a great job making sure people are tarped up properly as they go up that road. They really are pretty diligent on that, and so the road was actually in pretty good shape. I mean, there was a few things obviously we found and we did pick up, but on the whole I thought it was really good, and so that was great. Then we did the Selga conference. I just wanted to thank David Raven, the mayor of Revelstoke, and the people of Revelstoke for having that conference. Beautiful little town, so it was great to be there. And I didn't bring any jokes, because the guy that really, stood out to me was that Michael Kerr, and he's just talking about humor in the workplace. And I think it's just a sense of being a little bit lighter at work, and it creates a creative mind. And I think we do that a little bit. We have some fun too as well. We're here as well. Yeah, I also wanted to plug CJ Rhodes for turning on the light on Friday for the new traffic light. And I look forward to it. I had a chance to go to some of the places that are located in that little plaza and tell them. It was fun. Walk in there and let them know that, hey, you're going to be able to turn left out of here a lot easier than yesterday. So that was great to do. And I think that's about it. All I was going to do is look forward to seeing everybody at Rick Hansen tomorrow, relay. And I'm not sure on the time. I know he said 4:30. I've got a couple different other times. 3:30, 4 o'clock.
There's a photo op at 3:30, and there's something at 4, and something at 4:30.
Just look for us. We'll be down there, and please come join us. It'll be fun. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Plant. I'll be fairly brief. First off, I was asked to present this. So the Desert Park Exhibition Society, the racetrack up there, they're having a public meeting at the Sonora Center at 7 o'clock p.m. May the 8th. So this is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Let's keep Desert Park. And they need volunteers for planting and weeding and painting and that. So if you need any information, give Carol a call at 485-2238. That's, of course, a 250 number, 485-2238. And if you can't make it out, go and show some support, attend the meeting, and maybe get up there in a work party and see if we can get that place continuing on the road that it's on. Next week is Drinking Water Week. We won't be here, and I think that's a great recognition because in the town of Osoyoos we have great drinking water, and I drink tap water. That's the button that I want. Never mind the boiling water and all these other things and twinning and that. I drink tap water. I think that says a lot about our community and our infrastructure. Attended McHappy Days and many of the other things that were attended, and again, that road to the landfill was surprisingly clean. The Cottonwood intersection, that was real good to see that come through. That's been a lot of councils before this one have been plugging for that, and in fact, many councils going back 3 or 4 have been plugging for a light there, and it finally came to fruition. The big one that I'm excited about will be when they open up the new light at the 62nd crossing to the high school, tying into that new sidewalk and the cement barricades that are there, and really improving that whole walkability of that golf course high school area. That's going to be a very good one. I attended on Sunday. I attended the Multiple Sclerosis Society walk in Penticton, the MS walk. That's about my 6th year in a row attending that. Martha and I went there. It's just a great day. It's really good. The whole South Okanagan is there, raising funds and doing their walk. Followed up by the hospice walk in Oliver, and so that's a society trying to get a hospice center going. And again, that's about their 3rd or 4th year. I think I've been there for all of those. So really good worthy causes, and of course it's always nice when the weather cooperates. Following up on Councillor McCordoff, the cross-border milfoil / weevil issue is getting very interesting. A lot of information out there. We were actually went up to SIR to see if they could be a rearing facility for these weevils, and we've got some information back from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers about raising weevils and how to do it and that. So it's looking like things are, they're coming together. It's very interesting times. I just want to talk a bit about unsightly premises. With the wet spring we had and the ground saturated and lots of water, is it ever going to be a great weed season? And we're into about 10 days of sun, and they're just going to be sprouting overnight. So all you folks that are sort of traditional unsightly premise people, pay attention. Get out there, get something on them now, spray them, mow them down, do something. Save yourself a lot of money and a lot of grief by being proactive. And the unsightly premise folks, you know who you are, because we have a list that's pretty common every year. It's the same people. So if you jump on it, you may not have to go through the costly process. And that's my report. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Plant Rhodes, all in favor. We're adjourned. Have a great sunny rest of the day, great sunny afternoon. Sit outside and enjoy the warm Okanagan. Thanks a lot.